It will start in about a minute as soon as I get my act together here.
Are there any extra agendas?
How's that?
Good.
Where'd the ex-summer go?
Here, why don't you take mine?
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'll share with you.
July is flying by. That's what I think.
Yeah, it's half done.
No, it's not half done yet.
Not quite.
It's only the
The
11th.
11th.
Sorry, I'm just trying to bring up the agenda here.
Good morning.
Legal people are here.
Yes, I was gonna say.
Are we in trouble? Yeah, after I bugged you last night, but it was urgent. Why can't I find it? Can I look at your agenda for a second? And then I'll start the meeting and I'll look for it. Okay, we have a quorum. Thanks for coming, Bob. You made the quorum. I'll call the meeting to order at 8:31 on July 11th, 2022-23. Certification of open meeting law requirements have been met. It's been posted. A roll call of committee members.
Sorgi present.
Nutter
Dietrich here.
I'm sorry. Nutter present.
Adams present.
Severson present.
Okay. I would entertain, has everybody had a chance to look at the minutes? Or wait, well, I'm skipping the agenda. Adoption of the agenda. We have a 18-item agenda, so it's kind of long. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Adams.
Is there a second?
Severson.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes from our June meeting? Any questions, issues, corrections? Seeing none, I would call for a motion to approve the minutes of the June 6th meeting. Oh, God.
Let's not go back to January.
Okay, anybody want to move to approve them? Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Don't all speak up at once. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Is everybody sleepy today?
Too early in the morning.
Good God. Okay.
Monday for me.
Ah. All right. Oh, hi, Jean. Oh, there you are. Okay, thanks for joining. Yes? You want to say something? Okay. Well, I'm throwing it to you anyway.
Okay.
Item number 6 is a review of the 2016 MOU between the Healthcare Center and Parks, and I'm going to be looking for my agenda.
All right, I'm going to do a little summary here, just a little bit of history. Decades ago, the county created the Parks Commission, and the parks were managed by the clerk's office. Fast forward to 2016, February 2016, the county board created the Parks Department and PTED. The Parks Department was essentially turned into, was the Department of Land Management. They created the PTED to replace the Parks Commission. A few months later, in June of 2016, the memorandum of understanding between PTED and the Healthcare Center was signed by the Healthcare Center Board and the PTED Board. You will see that there's the MOU is in your packet, and I believe we have it up here on the screen. I'm not going to go through, read the whole thing here, but the core of it is, with this agreement, is the agreement assigns responsibility for the maintenance of Farm Progress Park to the Healthcare Center. The land that the park is on is part of the financial assets of the Healthcare Center. The facilities are part of the financial assets of the Healthcare Center. So this agreement assigned, and I think, let's see where it says, in the first paragraph, it entrusts the care and maintenance of Farm Progress Day Park in Whitehall, Wisconsin to the Trempealeau County Healthcare Center. To change this agreement, both parties, PTED and the Healthcare Center Board, need to approve any changes. So your task today, and it is somewhat linked to item number 7, but it's also one of these agreements that's been out there since 2016. So your task today is, do you want, as a committee, do you want to continue with this existing MOU, or do you want to change it to allow for PTED to help cost share and help pay for some of the facility repairs and maintenance at Farm Progress Park? That's your task today.
And just a little history of why this is on our agenda today. There have been a couple of issues with one in particular, the toilets at Farm Progress Days. I learned a lot about vault toilets, which wasn't in my vocabulary until a couple of weeks ago. And apparently they are uncertifiable at this point in our environmental history, so they need to be eliminated. And we had a meeting last week with the healthcare center and Stacy, who's the chair of the committee, myself, Rick was there, and Mike, to talk about how we are going to forge this partnership between the healthcare center and PTED, because it is a county park, and we do have some responsibility for the park. But this MOU is signed by people who no longer work here. And in reality, it should have been reviewed every year, and we haven't looked at it since 2015. 16. So that's where we are. Some things have to be done at the Farm Progress Days Park, and we just need to figure out how we want to move forward. So that's why it's on the agenda today.
Mike, could you just go over and bring everybody up to speed on what facilities and the size of that park and what we might be looking at for potential management responsibilities?
Well, currently, we don't have any responsibilities for that park, according to the MOU, or at least my understanding of the MOU. There isn't an actual boundary of the park, per se, so tough to give some acreage. But there's a shelter with a fireplace in it. There's a pond with a deck. Again, this park was built in 1977 when Farm Progress Days, now Farm Tech Days, was held in Trempealeau County. So the deck that was built in 77 is still there, the shelter, the pond, a basketball court, volleyball court, a little league baseball field, a walking path around the park, and a little parking area, and a vault toilets, facility.
Does it get used much by the public other than the residents?
We don't monitor the park. We don't send staff over there, so we really don't have a good idea what level of usage is going on over there.
It doesn't get used as much since the road got discontinued. Before, there was people that used to stop and let their kids run around for a while in that, but when the road got disbanded to that, to not make it accessible, that people could just pull off the road, it hasn't gotten used as much as it used to.
Yeah, that happened about 6 years ago, maybe?
When the new healthcare center got built.
Yeah, the Department of Transportation took away the right turn lane that went right into the area where the park was. We had many discussions with the Department of Transportation about, Jerry, feel free to move to the table because you might be able to answer some of these questions, and turn on your mic because we are televised so people can hear you. But yeah, that was a bone of contention for us. We really appreciated having that turn lane, but Department of Transportation chose to end it, which I don't know why, but
Is this on or off?
Yes, on.
it's on.
It's all access control.
Yeah.
Good morning. Yeah, unfortunately, we tried to advocate too, to not have that road taken, and it was all, Department of Transportation with how many roads within so many feet were going to be within an area with a turnoff and so forth. But again, as far as the usage, we probably get notified once in the spring that a school district is going to be using it on Tuesday nights and so forth. We don't do any scheduling, anything like that. We don't reap any profit from it. We care for it. We do light maintenance for it, different things like that. Our goal here today is, and I think there was a memorandum of understanding prior to this one in 2016, and I did not find that one, but I know there is one around that was established by Phil Boris. And, so our goal today is to, like our meeting that we had last week, is to sit down and see how we can partner to improve this park. Janie had some very good ideas on Mike, on opportunities that they could utilize some of this for with the shelter and so forth. We designated a parking area for that park in the lower parking lot. So basically, the high schools use a lot of it. There are some families, that come out and walk their dogs and so forth like that, but basically the ball field is what's used the most. And the walking path. Yeah.
And it is accessible, so.
It's all ADA.
Yeah, it's all ADA
Yeah.
standard
Yeah.
to get to all the different areas
Right.
within the park.
You know,
Yeah,
it-
we talked about how it's really underutilized, and maybe we need to, and it's under-advertised, a lot of people aren't aware that there's a volleyball court, a baseball, I have seen a lot of baseball games there, so that little part of it gets used a lot, but it could be that we could rent out the shelter when, similarly to how we use Petrick Park. It needs to be uplifted into our website, so people are aware of it and more information. And I know as a dog owner, people are always looking for places where can I walk my dog safely, and if the path around the park is used for people walking their dogs, that would be great. I mean, I just think there are some opportunities. We just have to figure out how we can move forward and work together. When we left the meeting, Stacy Klein and I handed the ball over to these two to figure out who could do what and how we could update this MOU. But we wanted to have input from the committee about how you view the park and how we should use it.
Madam Chair. I have observed the park. It is a nice park. The only concern I have is, I know it was built over 40 years ago, but that deck, hope we can maybe improve that deck a little bit. The wood itself is in decent shape for the most part, but maybe you'd like to paint the deck or something. The paint looks not the greatest on there. And of course, the toilets are pretty sad shape.
They're going to be
They're
gone.
going to be gone. But the deck probably needs some work from what I could see.
Yeah.
Is there any direct outcomes from your meeting last couple of weeks? I mean, you've kind of talked in generalities, but did you guys make any decisions or guidance recommendations?
Go ahead.
I don't think Rick volunteered, but we volunteered Rick to help us with this memorandum of understanding, because, our philosophy and mission is, again, this is well-established as a partnership with this park. Again, my heart is in for, also for, of course, the healthcare center and Parks and Rec, is a passion of mine and many people that, sit out at the center. We want it. We want to partner to continue to have this looking nice when people come into the sanctuary for their recovery and their families and so forth. Some of the outcomes, good question. Very simple in my eyes. That's how my brain works, is what are some key things that need improvement I specifically look at safety first. So, when we look at the restrooms and so forth, which Jeannie will make some recommendations today on what we're going to do with that, and we've had some discussions on that. So that's one of the outcomes is to eliminate possibly what Jeannie is saying, going to present to the board today, yep.
Rid of them, cement, first, well, I'm not a
Yep.
sanitation person, that's to go to some,
Yep, so we do have our maintenance director and the maintenance environmental director here involved in connecting together, and they're getting some numbers for us as we speak. So there was 2 top priorities that were listed. We had asked for the top 5 things, well, that was my recommendation at the meeting, is like we should look at the top 5 things that we need to look at. 2 of the top 5, which were the bathrooms and the decking, correct?
I don't think we established the top 5 things.
Okay, well, that was theory to,
Right.
well, trying to get the ball rolling
toilets
here.
is number 1.
Yeah,
They have to be
because
dealt
we
with.
can't be dragging all this out for
Right.
safety reasons, and we
Right.
need to go forward and ensure that the community also has services to utilize for a toilet versus peeing behind a tree and so forth. And Jeannie had made a
It
recommendation.
probably would be porta potties would be the most efficient and,
Quick.
yeah.
And
An
you had mentioned
accessible
like an
one.
ADA.
Yeah, we
you
have
know.
to we have to be ADA compliant, so.
cheapest probably also.
Right. So we had come to some understandings with the initial, that we discussed today, the initial plan, who would pay for, certain things and so forth, and then we would go forward. And did you get a chance to talk to Jeremy?
I have not heard from Jeremy.
And I did get a chance to talk to him on the way out after that meeting, so he's going to be in contact with you, because I would like him to also look at so we follow our procurement policy of estimates and so forth.
Yeah, what Jeremy is doing is getting estimates on what it will cost to eliminate the vault toilets and what kind of, you fill it with sand and let it settle and then cement. I mean, I'm talking like I know what I'm talking about, but.
And I don't either, so that's why I trust those 2 guys.
So it's all, they need to figure that out, and then if we have to put a cement pad down to place the porta potties on, then that's what we have to do, but it all has to be done environmentally correct.
I just want to say, one of the things procedurally, we really need to hear from the PTED committee.
Right.
Do you want to change this agreement? Because right now, what's documented here in the document is the healthcare center maintains all responsibility for the facilities there as it is the assets. It's in their audit, and they're documented as the land and the facilities as their assets versus the county or DLM. So there's and if we were to have some go in a different direction and maybe rent out the center, then we would probably have to share that revenue with the healthcare center. So
Years ago, we were gonna step in and help them as a committee, would use our maintenance from Petrick Park, and they said they didn't need any help. They wanted to handle everything themselves.
Yeah, there's a lot way before even our time that has happened, I do want to reflect back to the memorandum of understanding just for some clarity. Under funding, it says the MOU is not a commitment of funds and hereby serves as a letter of terms.
You might have to speak into your microphone, and
I'm sorry, can I borrow
maybe
this?
Mike could put it down and we could all
Oh,
read
that's
it.
okay. The
'Cause it is-
memorandum is not a commitment of funds and hereby serves as a letter of terms and understanding between Trempealeau County Parks, Tourism, Economic Development Committee and Trempealeau County Healthcare Center. So what we want to establish is, I know there was a discussion, do we want to disband this or not? I don't know where that would stand from a legal standpoint from Corporation Counsel. Our commitment would be that we want to continue to partner because I feel it really benefits everyone and Trempealeau County and the community, not only the Serenity. Rick had some really good ideas on percentages once we get through this initial update of these toilets. Some percentages that we can come up with some ideas, and Mike and I were charged with getting some ideas to Rick for starting to look at this, and Mike has gotten some draft things to Rick already and so forth. So, yes, so back to his initial thing, what would you guys like to do with this memorandum?
I think one thing we have to keep in mind here is this would be a new partnership because historically we have not shared costs at the park. We have not done that historically.
We have not billed for costs, you know.
Correct.
Example, the electric bill, 50%. We've never billed for that, which that can run from $200 to $1,000 a month, which we do have to discuss at some point when we finalize some of this stuff, so we've, and that usually runs, is it between $200 to $1,200, depending if the pump is running, it can be as much as $1,000 a month.
Yeah, so that was just kind of estimates.
Estimate numbers.
I didn't get a chance to pull all back to 2016.
That was when we had the fountain and the pump.
Correct.
Yeah, and then when that got damaged and never,
Taken
the
away.
responsible parties never took care of repairing it. So,
At that time, we had a licensed master electrician on our board, and he said, for what you have there, there's no way possible it could be $1,000 a month, and he wanted to hook a meter up to it just to see what the output would be on that for electrical charges, and he says you couldn't do it.
That sounds really, really high.
Yeah.
and it's not operating now, so.
Yeah, there is a meter on that.
I just haven't gotten.
No,
a
with
chance.
regular
Yeah.
test equipment.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
All I know is there's a meter out there,
Yeah.
but that's a
But it's
whole
not-
nother
It
discussion.
doesn't work, it's not working now anyway, so, and it probably never will be because it was so badly ruined. You wanted to say something, Mr. Carlson?
I just wanted to ask Jerry a question. Jerry, Dave Carlson, I'm the Economic Development, we haven't met yet, so.
Good things.
Huh?
I've heard good things, though.
Oh, well, likewise. My question is, can you quantify how much residents or visitors to the center actually use the park?
Minimal?
Minimal meaning what?
From the healthcare center. The clients out there primarily, use their restrooms and so forth, and then they, twice a day, will use the walking track for walks and exercise and so forth. As far as, the healthcare center, I would say maybe monthly, I might have a family
Okay.
that might go up and sit at the shelter. But otherwise, we've made an environment down below with tables and so forth that is more conducive. As far as families, the most that I see out there, I really don't see families. I see people, a lot of dog walkers, and which is great. And I also see the ball field, which is used mostly, but I wouldn't know what type of numbers.
Yeah, the
It's not a
the reason
lot.
I'm asking is because I think in talking to some people about that, and Reed and I took a tour out there a couple weeks ago, just walked around, kind of took an inventory of stuff. But the perception I get is that a lot of people feel that, well, it's part of the healthcare center, they do activities there, and it's part of your programming. And what I'm hearing you say is that that's really not. But at the same time, I think that it's possible that that sort of feeling has dictated what is or isn't done out at the park there. And, putting on the tourism hat, just like Petrick Park is part of our, tourism assets of Trempealeau County, this could be as well. But I think that there'd need to be some more clarity as to, is that actually a park? Is that part of the Department of Land Management's responsibility and management, or not? There can't, and if we're gonna market it and use the park, do we have the ability to do that free reign and not be interfered with? And I don't mean that like in a negative sense, like you're gonna interfere. Is there some opportunity? Because I think there's some exciting possibilities, but it's kind of murky right now about all of those things.
And the murky part, because when I stepped into the meeting last week, I came in with, well, we're just going to take the park back and be totally responsible for it. And then you were like, well, we'd have to deed the land back to you. That's where it's murky. It's very complicated because that, And I was like, deed the land back to us.
Rick-
It's all our land. Well,
Rick,
you know,
can-
and we worked through that. So maybe you might want to step in and give some
Is there
clarity on
deeding
that.
back of land, or, you know, as with the land and the facilities being part of the assets, how does that come into play?
And I certainly can't answer the whole financial aspect of things because that's not my forte. The property itself, my understanding, is titled in County of Trempealeau. Is that correct? But as the healthcare center folks indicated, it is on their financials, so there would need to be something that happens if it's going to go to Trempealeau County Parks and Tourism and Economic Development aspect solely. So there is something that would need to be done there. How that would work, we'd have to get some further input on that. But that's where there would need to be something done there if it's going to get switched over, so to speak. But it is titled in County of Trempealeau.
Yeah, introduce yourself too, because probably everybody doesn't
I'm
know
going
who
to
you
apologize, I
are.
have court in about 4 minutes, so I'm going to have to head upstairs shortly.
Okay.
So
Just come back when court's over.
it goes to 11:30.
Oh, darn, okay.
Well, we might still be.
He might still be here.
I'm Lori Glonert. I'm the Director of Finance for the Trempealeau County Healthcare Center. Some of this, we are on the agenda for the county board meeting to kind of give some history of how the healthcare center kind of came to be. And so that kind of does come into play here as far as how the healthcare center land was established by the county officials back in 1898. And so, yes, the land is held in the County of Trempealeau name. However, history dictates that that land that the healthcare center has right now was determined by the county board at that time by resolution to be held or to be purchased and or donated for a, we call it now the Trempealeau County Healthcare Center. Back then it was the Poor Farm. The resolution actually has that verbiage in it. So that land was purchased or donated for the usage of the Trempealeau County Healthcare Center. And so while it's titled in the County of Trempealeau name, resolution dictates by the county that that land is to be used by the Trempealeau County Healthcare Center for its usage, the programming, the creation of what they called then a poor farm for services to the residents of the whole state of Wisconsin and the residents of Trempealeau County.
Along with that comes financial responsibility as well.
Right.
And then to make it even murkier, in 1979, 7 to 77, they cut out a little piece of that
Yep.
land to designate as Farm Progress County Park.
So at our meeting last week, or whenever that, last week, Paul Severson did give some good history on that the Farm Progress Days was actually held across the highway. But then the revenue that was brought in from that park, or from the Farm Progress Days held in 1977, then we used that revenue for creation of the Farm Progress Days Park. The building of the shelter, I'm guessing, the bathrooms, and the deck. And the pond, was the pond always there? That I don't know, but that's kind of how that
Pond wasn't
park
always
came
there. We have
Lori-
another historian behind us.
Lori, can I ask you a question, Lori? So, right, like this healthcare center, like many, started out as a county farm, poor farm, whatever. And my understanding is back in the day, right, that residents actually worked, out on farm as
Yes,
part of
sure.
therapy and stuff like that. So it makes total sense. In 2023, how does that land, that's not directly part of the facilities, how does that fit into programming for residents?
Specifically what we discussed, exercise, we do a lot of walk and talk, therapy, different things, residents are able to go out there independently, exercise. The track is the main thing that we
I guess
use.
I'm sorry, I maybe wasn't clear. I wasn't talking about the park. I was talking about like the farmland that's across the road.
Yep, okay.
And adjacent to.
Mhm.
I mean, is there any resident, work on farms or any involvement
have-
with that whatsoever?
Yep, we have residents that participate in upkeep. We have residents participate in mowing. Actually, we have residents that participate if we need to cut limbs off from fences and so forth, and actually go out with the maintenance gentleman and different things like that.
Again, I'm talking about like I don't know, I looked at the map and I don't remember the number, 300 acres, whatever, the stuff across the road.
Yeah,
You lease that out to
Correct.
other farmers who
Correct.
actively farm that.
Correct.
And that's not, they're not involved with they're not center residents or any of that kind of stuff, right? That's what I'm trying to get at, is
Right.
that land. It's
Correct.
it's just on your books, it's a revenue source right now, but there's no ties to the programming at the facility anymore.
Go ahead, Lori.
I would argue that there is.
Okay,
um,
I'd
because-
like to hear what that is. That's
Yeah.
what I'm trying to get at.
So the farm does lease that does lease that land out. And then the farm has its own separate financial. We are for the revenue and the expenses of the farm. And so if there is our board has authorized, and we review with them, that if there is a certain amount of revenue that's gained off the farm, we have a mechanism to direct those funds directly towards programming for the Trempealeau County Healthcare Center and all of the facilities that we operate.
I think one of the things that Dave is trying to get at is, do the residents participate in that piece?
They participate, and that farm does support the programming of the Trempealeau County Healthcare Center.
It sounds like they're more beneficiaries than,
And actually,
They're not, what I think, Dave, is if I can,
right. Well, and.
are they baling hay or working on, they're
It
not
doesn't
working?
We don't use the land that way.
Okay.
The land has evolved since
Right,
1890, of course.
Clearly,
Clearly.
that's what I was thinking.
So we have to evolve with it, right? So are they milking cows and gardening?
Driving
and,
tractors and plowing fields?
No. That farm was used that fed the residents of the healthcare center at one point. Are they doing that?
Right.
No.
So the
it's
bottom line is you've got this land. We're not talking about the park, but the other land, and there's a revenue source to that. And in the end, it sounds like it all washes out that means less county money to support the healthcare center because you've got a little bit of money from the lease of that farmland.
At the very end of the day, that would be a true statement.
So it's less, in a way, it's kind of a good thing, because it's less to the taxpayers in a way. It kind of evens it out with that revenue.
I would agree.
So,
And that's why we want to partner for improvements.
And that would require more tax money from the county if we would partner on facilities, because we would be using levy dollars to pay for those costs.
I would say that's true, right?
yes,
Yeah.
Jean, do you have a question?
I do. In regards to her statement about the farm is separate financial to the healthcare, in regards to the farm, I understand that. Does that bid to the farmers go out every year? And is there a report that they give back to the healthcare board / farm progress day committee? And will we be able to see a past 5-10 years of money, financials, I should say, of that park, and of that farm, besides getting a brand new budget for this year?
So, Jean, let me see if I can clarify your question. Were you just asking, is there a bid that goes out every year to have that farmland available to any farmer who wants to lease it? Is that what you're asking?
Correct. And then
Okay.
is there a official report that's given back to that committee that
Which
shows
committee?
how much would it be the Farm Progress Committee? Is my understanding there's two committees. One is the healthcare
There's not a Farm Progress Committee. There's the healthcare, Stacy Klein is the chair of the Healthcare Center Committee,
Healthcare Center Committee.
yes. And then there's the PTED Committee, and that's, the two of us have been trying to figure this out. There's no Farm Progress Committee.
And this is Jerry, if I may speak.
Sure.
Title.
And is it Jean?
Jean Galazinski, yeah.
Jean, hi, this is Jerry. The farmland is put out on bids. They actually come due, I believe, in 2024. So we do RFPs for, for all of that and so forth. The farm financials, again, it's a separate financial that actually, aside from the healthcare center, under the resolution in 1898 that actually, but our board and part of our financials is all presented to, through the process of the exec finance committee and the whole 9 yards. So again, it's a report, it's a separate financial, land goes out on bids, and we take no tax levy dollars for the entire program. So again, if this board opts to, which I'm, and Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, but it appears that you might be recommending to, are you recommending to dissolve the memorandum of understanding?
We can't dissolve it. I guess if both parties agreed to do that, I'm not recommending that.
Okay.
I'm recommending that the committee decide whether or not they want to continue with the existing one or move forward and work forward to amend a different agreement. Those are the two options that I see are
And I think
here.
that we need to come back to that discussion, because the farmland and that is a separate issue. What we need to figure out today, and that's why, and it's going to the Healthcare Center Committee as well, to have this discussion, how they want to move forward with this MOU. When do you guys meet?
We meet this Thursday, and then Jeannie gave Mike and I some guidance to get our draft ideas to Corporation Council, and so then we can take that draft back to this committee and to our committee, and then once we come to a draft agreement, then we would meet collaboratively and discuss
And
that.
before we go there, this is why we're here today, to talk to this committee about how you see Farm Progress Days Park, do you want PTED to be, do you want to continue this MOU? Do you want to make adjustments to it? I know it's a lot to throw on your plate today, but we need to figure out where we want to go. And it's unfortunate this wasn't reviewed every year. It kind of got lost, a lot was going on with this committee evolving and different people and things changing, so.
Well, our side too, 3 years of a pandemic and being isolated.
Right,
It's
the pandemic has been a nightmare, but
We
where
take
do we want to
ownership.
go? Thoughts from this?
But this basically happened years ago under the last management. Years ago, we used to have a joint meeting in August. And part of the thing about having something successful is called communication. Ever since then, there's been communication between the healthcare center and this committee. Same with some other issues. It just seemed like the last person in charge didn't want nothing to do with any outside help. And you have to work together in order to make things successful.
Yeah, and those meetings took place,
Usually in August.
Yep, and we met in that.
At the healthcare, or at
Yep,
the
at the
shelter.
park. So it's kind of, I don't know what happened, but we can't blame everything on the pandemic, so.
Like I'm saying, I don't know who your predecessor was, but I think some of your predecessors weren't as involved as you were.
So let's not go to the past, let's talk about where we want to go in the future.
They gave us the boots, kinda.
Do you have any thoughts, Buzz? You're usually.
Well, I guess the thought that I'm sitting here, it seems like an underutilized park space at this time is what we have. So what's our opportunity to increase that usage? And with that usage, does there increase maintenance cost? At this time with everything we got going on Petrick, we're going to be taxed to the hilt with the development of that, with what's being proposed. So it's going to come down to a resource issue at some time. There's things I wish Dave was sitting there. Reed, you are. and from the healthcare facility, do you want that park promoted more as a public use space or not? And if so, is that something that PTED could help with existing staff and resources? But, you know, last time I remember sitting in a meeting, that was not something that the healthcare center wanted. They didn't want more public in there. I'm hearing a different story today, Jerry, to be quite honest, that things are changing. So if they're changing, how do we assist in that at the same time? If there's more maintenance needs or cost needs, where does that money come from?
You know, our philosophy, I mean, things have changed over decades. Do we have to be cautious? Yes, because we're trying to prevent, or we're trying to promote serenity, compassion, and recovery. But, you know, in my opinion, you know, with serving the entire state of Wisconsin, even when we have individuals come in for our board meetings and things like that, we do announce, because there are some people that do not want individuals to know that they're being treated for mental health. But on the other hand, part of recovery is to reintegrate into community. Okay, that's a big portion. Just because I'm under a commitment, just because I have a mental illness or an addiction, which we're seeing a high percentage, you know, we actually added an AODA counselor and so forth. You know, part of the reintegration is to have that social integration and so forth. Now, do we want to have, you know, same concepts as other parks and ball fields and stuff? Do we want, you know, the hooting and the hollering and after 10 o'clock? No, we don't, you know. But, you know, I think that's very common sense type things, which we all know at times common sense doesn't go far with some people. But, you know, is it an opportunity for this community to look at that park and utilize it, you know, to opportunities that you would see fit? Definitely. You know, caution is always good, but on the other hand, part of everyone's day of life is to reintegrate into some type of normalcy, and we do promote that. So, you know, it never, even back when the pond was going, you know, the amount of horse and buggies that were tied up to the shelter and people were going down to fish out the bullheads. I mean, it was a cool opportunity for residents to see. It wasn't so much the residents that had what some people consider the problem with it or the stigma, you know. It was more some of the community. That's my new thing for 2023 is some, not the community, not all people, but some individuals had more of a problem with it because it's like, oh my gosh, you know, some people still have that stigma that this is the asylum, you know, which we've done really good things to get away from that. So do I feel that, you know, we don't, with all of I think we've got 14 buildings that we oversee, okay? And we have many stages of recovery and treatment, all except this one and Pigeon being community-based. Now, with the healthcare center residents, we have so pushed, even through the pandemic, it's even more important to look at outdoor activities and recovery and so forth, and we've really pushed that. You know, and we've made some really, really good progress to the point where, you know, our length of stay is less than 90 days. I mean, some people are only there 2 weeks. I mean, it's amazing on the hybrid program that we've altered over the last 5 to 10 years. You know, within that 5 to 10 year period, you're no longer seeing people there for long periods of time.
So if I can understand what you're saying, is you invite more interaction with the public.
Definitely.
And it would be a culture change, I think, for the people in the area, because I think most people view that as part of the healthcare center, and that it's, even though it's a county park, it's not a place where I can go have a picnic, hang out with my kids, rent the shelter, you know, have a baseball tournament there, which I think is really underutilized. And as far as shutting down at 10 o'clock, we close the parties at our park need to be shut down early, correct?
Yeah, since the PTED committee made those changes to
Right.
8 PM, there hasn't really been too much of an issue.
Right, so we don't, you know, there's not a lot of hooting and hollering at Petrick Park either, because people are there with their families and camping, and kids go to bed, and, you know, so.
Yeah, so again, very, very good points. I mean, you can see, and in a nutshell, what, you know, the medical director and the inpatient and outpatient team has really focused on is, you know, is a stabilization recovery-based facility. So what does that mean? It's like, you know, some of us might have a crisis in our life, we come in, but part of that recovery is, again, to reintegrate through certain processes and reintegrate back to normal life.
Okay, so we need to come back to what does this committee want to do? Otherwise, we could be here
For hours.
till noon, and we're only on the first agenda item, and we have 17 more to go.
Do you want to keep the current memorandum, or do you want us to pursue an amended, renegotiated?
And we're
MOU.
not asking you to write the MOU, that would go to Jerry and Mike.
And we would bring a draft back.
And bring
too.
a draft that we would look at.
I guess the way it looks here, you know, we could do two things. I mean, we had talked about it earlier about maybe letting the county hospital have that, but trade another parcel of land for it, because we had talked about at one time having different locations in the county with some primitive camping. The other thing would be to write a totally different memorandum in that, but have the Parks Committee in total control of that property. You would be there, we'd be using your property or the county property, but we would be in charge of it for our maintenance and different things like that. Because it's gotten lax through the years.
And we would have to look at, because that's how I went into the meeting, but there are some legal issues regarding
Right, but I mean,
that.
just tentatively,
Right.
you know, to go on, because we can argue all day long here, and this is all new right now. I mean, this got brought up for this meeting.
Yeah, and you're
I mean,
right, because we, a few years ago, we talked about wanting to use some of the land for primitive camping, and we were told, no.
Oh, well, that was the meeting that we held. Are you speaking of the meeting that we held?
Yeah, this was,
That's
I don't
you're
think,
speaking
I was
of that
not the
meeting?
chair of this meeting, this
If I
committee at that
remember
time.
correctly, we were open to that, but we really never, I'd have to go back to my notes on
Yeah,
that,
I
but
think-
I think it was the was
It was over by,
Blair?
on Arneson Ridge.
Right.
Getting a parcel out of that, so we could have primitive camping, no campers, just if people wanted to tent it.
But we have that.
Yeah, and we, you know, that's probably for a different discussion, but
Right.
right now, you know, like that specific property, we really do utilize. So I know what you're saying. Well, Jerry's going to say we utilize that, so we can't do it. But we do utilize that a lot. We've stuck a lot of money into that property, including a pond with fish. So, and people do go back there and so forth.
I hate
But
to cut you off again, but
Farm
we
progress.
we need to make a decision about. Okay, speak up, because sometimes it's hard to hear you. Go ahead, Jean.
Please, could we please, I don't feel comfortable making any motions or voting and doing anything on this. It just came to us. I want more information for the PTED committee. I've taken lots of notes. I'd like us to discuss this next month, so we have information, and then go from there. Because like Bob said, we can be here forever going back and forth. I want more information, and it's being no disrespect to the people that are there from the healthcare center, but I want more information.
Okay, so you want us to just kind of have this, you don't want to make a decision about scrapping this MOU and creating a new one? You want to have a further discussion? What kind of more information are you looking for?
I'd like to see budgets. I'd like to see more discussion from the people of the PTED committee, more thoughts.
Okay. Like what
Because
kind
right
of
now we're going back and forth.
Okay, I get it. You want, maybe we need to look at what kind of financial impact this would have on the PTED
And/or county.
if we're share.
County, correct.
Right, and the county. Well, and it would impact Mike's unit because it would take people away from, we would have to, redirect some of their energy to this park. So you're right, we need to get our ducks in a row first with this committee and then maybe have a discussion again about changing this MOU in September.
So Jeannie, Jean, with respect, Jeannie had guided us the other day to get recommendations for a change in the MOU.
No, what I was hoping is to have this, I wanted this information to come to our committee, because this was all just landed on my plate a couple weeks ago based on toilets. So.
And right now, that is what
Right.
I know you're going to be bringing us back to, is the toilet.
Right, so, but I think, I understand Jean's, before we can make a decision about, because we have not had any financial responsibility for this park since I've been on the committee, that I'm aware of, right?
Right.
Yeah, and I don't know what prior to me, 10 years ago, you've been involved forever.
We've had, suggestions and that, but the county did not want to hear anything about it.
Okay. Yeah, it was really, so I think you're right, Jean, we need to, what do you think? You're the boss.
I guess if we're going to bring, Jean wants to see more budgets, I guess, are you looking at, or Jean, you want to see more budgets, are you looking at budgets that the healthcare center spends on the park? Are you looking at an estimated budget that DLM would need to have if we took it over completely? Is that the kind of thing you're looking at?
Correct. And what we would go back and forth with besides the money from the farm. I don't feel comfortable with us having to make a decision and, a meeting without more information.
I'm 100% with Jean. I think that it's really, really important to gather a few more facts, like find out exactly what you do and do not want the public to do at the park and that kind of thing. I think we need that very clear.
I was going to
Yeah.
make that,
In
what are
writing,
the
yeah.
compatible uses, that they're clearly defined, and then establish the most reasonable MOU between the two entities that I still, probably with budgets in the near future, a joint management MOU of some time, but having compatible uses what I'm most concerned about.
And I would just suggest, short-term here, that you should figure out in your budget some way to get a couple of porta potties there, because that's a state.
And paint the deck too.
Yeah, well, I would, the porta potties is.
Well,
is a-
there's
is a
two
separate
toilets that
issue.
are still working, right? So
Technically.
so it's not like there's nothing out there, that are two that can continue to work for the time being. We're not ripping them down yet, because we don't even have a estimate of what that cost is. So Jean, thank you for bringing me back to that, because we are looking at a lot of things without knowing dollar amounts and how it'll impact the healthcare center and the county.
Okay, so do you also want some type of number from us on the cost that we have?
Yeah, that would
put
be
into the
helpful, because I
park
don't
so
think
far?
people
Because-
have any idea.
Because the MOU does say that the Parks Committee was to contribute half of the electricity cost for that park, and we've not billed you for that. So do you
Right.
want us to bring that to this
Well,
committee
just
as well?
how much, what you have spent, I think people need to know.
One question I want to understand, what electric uses are going on out there at the park? What's using power out there?
The shelter. I don't know, Mike. That's
That's what I want to know.
I mean, that's why we're sitting here. That's why I said Jeremy and Nate are our go-to people for this. And if we want numbers to come to this committee, I mean, we can pull the summer helpers, we can pull all the wages.
Right, that's exactly what we need.
We can pull the electric, I mean,
And,
you know.
and Lori, how long has it been since we've been billed for this electric or not?
We've never
been
billed you.
We've never billed, and there was a memorandum before this one, I just don't know
Okay, so.
where it is. Paul might have it.
I mean, so why was that? I mean, there's,
It's just a partnership that when there's no electricity out there and the fountain's not being used, the electric bill is $30 a month. So we have just been,
well, if somebody
We have
wouldn't
to-
bill me as a business for a million years, I guess I wouldn't pay him. I mean, that's
I'm
kinda
not
simple.
asking for payment here
No,
today.
she's, yeah.
I
Let's
understand
just
that,
come,
but-
I think that if we just both come back with, and you can discuss this at your committee too on Thursday to see what their thoughts are, and then when we come back in September, August, yeah. Well, no, this Jean is we're in July right now. Jean wants this committee to, well, if you could have information brought to us by our August meeting, which is the first Tuesday of the month.
And actually, it'd be helpful to have it a week before, we meet on August 1st. Be nice to have that information. It's coming up really quick because we're meeting a
Yeah.
week later.
That's
So
right.
that's a really quick turnaround because it's good to have, the committee members like to see the information in advance of the meeting.
We'll try to do our best, but, you know.
Yeah,
We-
we're not
we-
asking for
yeah.
any more than your best, and
Yeah,
just give us some.
Because we wear many hats, but we'll try and do our
Right.
best, and if we can't get that information to you, we'll sure communicate that with you.
And
You
maybe,
know.
maybe just because of the tight timeline, maybe it does need to wait till September.
That was kind of what I
realistically.
was thinking.
I
because
think
more-
maybe that would be the more realistic.
Yeah,
But if we can get it together earlier, I mean, but we'll
I'll get it
communicate
to you
that.
when we can.
Yeah.
Yeah, then you'll
Okay.
have it.
all
Because
right,
time is of essence,
yeah,
you know, and, you know, we just want to make sure, again, there's a partnership, we promote that, and
Okay.
I think we've established that.
okay, all right, we'll
Thank you.
figure it out.
I
We're
guess
all in
one
the
of
same boat
one of the
together.
things that would be helpful too for this committee is just to stop within the next month and do a walkabout out there and to see what's going on out there.
Given that, I guess, Jerry, is there a good map of the total parcel, the ag land, the park, the building, the layout?
It's not broken out
There is a map of that triangle piece.
of the park.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
I guess there's Google Earth too.
Yeah.
Land mapping.
Yeah, because there is
Oh, yeah, we could probably get it from Ann.
There is a triangle piece there that does identify that park. I can look for that.
I guess
think-
I'd just like to
I
see
think
how
I
the
have it
whole puzzle fit
electronic.
together.
I just looked on the land records, and the park is attached to a parcel that includes some of your buildings and stuff.
Okay.
So I was trying to, I'm not slick like Reed or the land management people with being able to draw a thing and then measure the acreage and stuff.
Basically, the way that it was explained to us before was the old entrance to the county hospital, 121, just to the west of the shelter into the ballpark. That's the way it was explained to us years ago.
There's a triangle piece there.
Well, it was pretty much rectangles.
Okay.
Straight forward, because it come down to the baseball park, to the road. And then the old thing, because it included like the tennis court, and then just to where it starts going over the bank.
So didn't include a pond then?
Yeah, but I mean,
Oh, the pond
the
was
pond
on
was on it too.
Okay, thanks, you guys. We'll figure this out.
Do you want to talk about, is the bathroom the next item, or are we the next agenda item? or-
That's up to
And-
Chair Nutter.
It's not on here.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, bathrooms, I'm sorry. Yeah, and farm progress bathrooms, we can't make any decision about that because we're waiting for estimates, and we've kind of talked about that, correct?
My understanding is Jeremy's working on that. I don't know if he's come up with a budget number, and he's shared that with Rick Niemeyer. He has not shared that with me. My understanding is I don't know what Jeremy's doing. We haven't spoken specifically on this. I don't know if he's getting formal bids for something, or he did, I guess I thought he was just kind of, did a little research to kind of get some kind of idea what it might cost.
And
But that wasn't an actual, hey, we're going to get multiple bids from a contractor to do the project. That's my understanding.
My understanding too is he has a friend And that's and it was around $7,000 to eliminate those.
Is this bathroom functional now or
Two
not?
of them are. Two of the toilets are.
They always have them.
Okay, so in other words, it's not an act of safety right now that we have to condemn them. They are usable.
One half of it is shut off because of it going underneath the toilet. What Jeremy is doing is getting bids. He and Nate are working on getting bids, because if this committee decides that we want them eliminated, it would need a motion here, and because we don't have a clear memorandum of understanding, I would take that recommendation back to our board so it's collaborative. And the healthcare center, if this board opts to go with the porta potty route and so forth, we have met at our meeting that we would do this, pay for this cost, for this. But again, if we can't decide on that today, there are two working and we can go forward.
Yeah, I mean, so we're not at critical state yet.
Right, that's
It's
what
not
I'm
like
asking.
Houston, we have a problem.
Because
We
I
can
know
still
years
use
ago
them.
with all the construction that was going on in the digging, we wanted to make it a flushable toilet. And that was, on your end of it, it was out of the picture.
It was very expensive, so, okay. So we don't have, yes?
I agree that, like I said, the bathrooms aren't the greatest, but they're not critical yet. At this time, we could,
And we
right
can't make
now.
a decision, we have no idea of what the cost is and what needs to happen and how they need to be ripped out and all of the environmental issues that go along with that.
issues there, but nothing super safety-wise, I've seen them.
Okay,
And those estimates that are being sought right now are directed from the two maintenance people to get them to Mike and myself, and then we can decide.
okay. All right, any other questions? Okay, thanks, you guys. Now, public comment. Linda, are you here for public comment? Okay, hang on a second. If people out there in TV land or in the building have any questions, the calling number is 715-538-1894. And I have one quick little comment because I see it's not on the agenda. I had some calls concerning the railroad crossing at the park, that people were very concerned that we were forging ahead to make all kinds of changes at the park, and what would happen if the railroad said, sorry, you can't cross our railroad anymore. So I shot this over to Dave Carlson, who's a genius with the Department of Transportation issues.
Background is.
And he
appreciated.
assured me that the railroad is not going to say, hey, county, you can't cross our track anymore.
That's item 17 on the
Oh, it
agenda.
is?
Yeah.
How come I cannot read today?
I like your background in transportation, that helps us a lot. Your connections there.
Okay, I'm sorry, I did not see that. I don't have my glasses, I left them at home. Okay, so we'll just hang tight till we get to item 17. And Linda? Am I on? Welcome. No, you're not on. You gotta turn on your mic. There you go. All right. Introduce yourself so people know, in the TV land, know who you are.
I'm Linda Mossman, and today I am representing the Whitehall Area Historical Foundation.
Cool.
Yeah, newly formed group. We, next year, in 2024, will be celebrating the city of Whitehall's 150th anniversary. Yes. So we have taken a different approach to our 150th, and we are going to have events that will start actually this September and go through next fall. And so we have a website. Did everybody get a copy of that? Okay. We have a website with whitehallhistorical.org, and we have a Facebook page. We've been doing some media. You might have heard on WHTL, Arlena Schott is doing a lot of the marketing for us. And so I've been on there, Arlena's been on there, several of us, and we will continue to do so, announcing our events. But what I'm here today is I brought a copy for each of you and a small stack for Dave for his brochure rack of one of our legacy projects. And this project, we have completed a historical walking tour of the outside of the homes on the east side of Main Street. Yeah, there are, I believe, 10 of them. Rose was instrumental up in the Register of Deeds office making this happen for us. And we will be starting this fall doing the homes on the west side of Whitehall on Main Street. And I think there's going to be 12 or 15 of those. So that's a legacy project. Then we're working on all of the events for next year. We're doing a genealogy workshop. We're doing something with the cemeteries. I'm trying to get a friends group started as a legacy project. We're going to do an honor quilt presentation to the Whitehall area veterans at the Gazebo Park on Flag Day next year. That committee's fantastic. They've done about 100 quilts, lap-size quilts, so far to date to give to the Whitehall veterans. We're going to be doing a garden tour. We have a vintage baseball game planned for July, which is Dave is being our consultant on that as well.
And you're going to call the game, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You're good at it.
Playing it.
If we did that, it would have to be with a megaphone because there was no broadcasting back then.
Right. So we already have 2 teams from outside the area committed. We're looking for like the City of Independence, if they want to put together a team to play vintage baseball. I've talked to Carol Birkland at the City of Arcadia, Galesville. Somebody else wants to put a team together.
What about Strum and Aleva Strum might want to do it too?
Anybody,
Okay.
get in contact with me, and you can get in contact with me through the whitehallhistorical.org. We're also going to be doing a vintage farmers market. Arlena's going to be doing some stuff in August with some vintage farm machinery and, ways of the 1890s. We're going to do a harvest day, late August, September. So it's going to be a year of activities versus one particular weekend.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Questions? Thank you.
If there's a farmer's market, they have to sell, what are those, like heirloom tomatoes and stuff like that would be fun.
I'm sure Arlena, who is fabulous at all this marketing
Yeah.
stuff, already has that well underway.
Oh,
And I
fun.
forgot to mention, we're also doing an arts, authors, and photography festival the first weekend of October next year.
Okay.
And already Wade, a lot of you know Wade.
Yep.
Wade's going to be involved in this. Miles Schaefer is going to be involved in this. Several of the photographers from the area. And we're researching all the authors from even the 1860s and 70s going forward, trying to get them to come and participate, maybe do readings and things of that nature.
Cool.
Yeah. Thanks,
Thanks,
guys.
Linda. Nice to see you.
Thanks.
Any
Jeannie,
other?
I have an update on Wisconsin Great River Road.
Okay, great, go for it.
We are 3/4 of the way out of our Wisconsin Great River Road visitor guides. We are putting together RFPs for a printer. We already have a designer. So 2024 visitor guides will be started. I promote all the dairy breakfasts for all the counties. That went well for Trempealeau. And of course, the county fair for Trempealeau is coming up this week, 13th through the 15th. We had a presentation that we worked with in Milwaukee with Crystal DuPont from the Wisconsin Department of Transportation. She deals with the Amtrak. She'll be coming up hopefully in the next couple of weeks. We will be working on that to promote people coming to our area and then getting them up into all of our counties. So I will be able to provide you with more information on that. And that's it for now.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, this is Doreen Olson. I just want to bring attention to the committee and others about the donations policy. As many people know, we had a celebration life for my mother back in June, and the memorials that were given exceed the $1,000 mark for donations. So in order to stay in policy, we'll have to break that up into several different checks or whatever. And also, my concern is our family would like to it to be designated towards a certain item. According to the policy, would have to go
Right.
to the board and things like that. I think once we have the Friends of Petrick Park established, then memorials would be able to be designated towards that. But I just do want to bring that up to the committee that it's a little cumbersome.
It is, and
So-
I brought that up to maybe exec finance, that we need to adjust that policy, because it happens in human services too, and with the ADRC, somebody left in their will a considerable amount of money designated directly to the nutrition program, so that needs to be redone. Actually, I think it was Rick I brought it up to, because that policy is really not helpful.
Thank you for looking into that already.
We're gonna change it.
I agree with Chair Nutter that policy needs to either be eliminated or at least updated. It just causes more pain for not only your
Right.
organization, the parks, or any organization of the county or sub-organization. It's more pain. I agree.
Yeah, so we're gonna take care of it, Doreen. Thank you. I'll let you know when it's changed.
Yep.
Oh, I want it done before that.
Hurry up.
It could be dragged for
You
a
know, and
while, government.
I think we can make some exceptions, because I know the ADRC accepted two sizable amounts that were bequeathed specifically for the nutrition program, so
There's ways. we
let me
can-
talk to Rick about it.
I just want to close my books before it gets changed.
Yeah, I'll talk to Rick.
Government
I
slogan,
think
huh?
I'll probably be here till 11 when he's done with court, so I'll talk to him about it. And I'm sorry, I saw a discussion of park access, and it was like, I didn't see railroad in there, so it didn't catch my eye. I'm sorry.
I've just got one other thing under public comment. Next week, a week from Thursday, I think there's a meeting at Grand Occasions in Osseo. Maybe Dave knows more about it than I. Rural Partners Network is a program that I found out about from some work I'm doing in Dunn County with a group over there. And Trempealeau County has been identified as only one of 5 counties in the state of Wisconsin that's eligible for this assistance. And the coordinator for this part of the world is Sarah Sipple, and she's officed in the Dunn County Government Center. But they're having kind of a overview meeting to let people know what the opportunities may or may not be through this program. But it's a person to provide assistance to the county that can coordinate opportunities to the variety over 30 different federal agencies and bureaus to bring those dollars if you want that assistance to your locality. And we are one of the 5 counties that's been identified. So I'm just learning it at this level, but it's kind of at a higher level already. I'm going to learn more about it next week at another meeting. But if anybody's interested in going or attending that meeting, either I can send that meeting notice to Dave. I think I have already.
Yeah, I think I've got something I pulled up here.
And so it's kind of a regional meeting. Eau Claire County has kind of taken it, they're a pilot grant, and I wasn't really excited about their pilot grant. It seemed like much more promoting tourism for the city of Eau Claire and Altoona, not the rural portion of the county. But theirs is a rural tourism effort, and they're getting a lot of money for that. I mean,
Eau
it's,
Claire City is not really rural.
well, when you look at things from the national perspective, Eau Claire is
yeah.
rural.
Considering, compared to the national we are, it's all relative.
It's all relative, so, but Sarah, I've been on the phone with her a few hours already, trying to figure this puzzle out a little bit, and there seems to be opportunity there, but you gotta have a project to move forward, then they will help coordinate opportunity.
Like you said, kind of nationalized, Eau Claire would be considered either rural or suburban. Again, it's all relative.
Buzz, what was that funding you said that Trempealeau County had been identified for? Because I was not aware of.
We haven't been identified, we're identified as eligible.
For what, though?
Well, it could be up to 30 to 50 different federal programs that would be targeted through this Rural Partners Network, so I
Okay.
don't know if you're available for
Yeah,
that.
I've got that on my calendar. It's the 26th.
It's the 26th. I'm on vacation that week, so I'm not gonna drive back down.
26th
from
of
up north
July.
for it, but, and Sarah's coming to, we're part of a Food Alliance work group over in Dunn County, and she's coming next Monday or Tuesday to our meeting to
What-
see.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to know what time it was on Thursday.
Hang on a second. Let me get that email up again, Jeannie, and I'll forward it to you too.
Oh, yeah, just forward it to me and I'll.
I thought I registered for it, but it doesn't look like I did, but I've got it on my calendar. It's
But again, it's,
Wednesday, July 26th, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Grand Occasions Event Center in Osseo.
but again, there's only.
No cost to attend, registration's required.
And I think there's only a handful of states that have been identified, and then a handful of counties. How they picked us, I have no idea.
Well, it's wonderful that they did.
Right.
I love it.
Well, we'll see. I mean, that's
Yeah,
the
her too.
gig.
Yeah.
But
So if you send me the email, I'll get it on my date book here.
Yep, I'm doing it right now.
Oh, thank you.
There you go.
Awesome. Thanks, Buzz.
Hey, Jeannie, one more thing.
Okay. God, we got a lot of public comment today. Go
I
ahead.
wanna thank Amy. I can't open up in my computer my settings and my walls and stuff. I can't open up the packet. And Amy is kind enough to switch it into PDF for me. So Amy, if you're there, thank you so much for helping me out. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
And then the other thing is, I'm still getting emails to my personal email in regards to Petrick Park. So I ended up calling IT, and I want to thank Scott Woldera for trying to figure out why I'm getting emails that should be going to the Petrick Park email. So he was very kind to look into it, and he's trying to figure out why I get them.
I'll tell you
So
why.
I thank him for.
Jeannie, I get them too.
Yes.
And I think they come from the public, and it's just sent to, because I get those same emails, and sometimes I forward them to read. I always comment to the person who sends them to me, and I think it's just because you're on the committee and your information is out there in the public. And so maybe IT might send them to all committee members if it has anything to do with the park. I'm not sure, but I get those as well.
Thank you for forwarding those on to me because I have not been receiving those emails.
Yeah,
so-
they just,
And
there's
I'm the one that handles that. so-
Yeah, there's a public on our website, you know, if,
Yeah.
if you know, my husband wants to write an email about something he's not happy about or something he loves, then IT forwards it to the committee that is
okay.
responsible for it.
I see.
And
Okay.
then I answer it if I can, or I forward them to read. Mostly it's about they really wanted their campsite and couldn't get it.
Pretty much, that's usually the questions we get, yep.
Because, yeah, most of the things we get with the forward email that you and or the committee get are a lot to do with the,
Camping.
because like I'm saying, it's good to have, at least at this time, being forwarded to either the chair and or the committee too,
Yeah.
because we could reach out to either that person and or you. I appreciate those forward email servers that are doing them that.
And sometimes in the email, it'll say, do you want an email response?
Yep.
And they'll say no, they just wanted to express their opinion, so, but
That's
I
good.
usually answer them anyway.
It is important for Reed to get them so that he can just compile, you know, these are
Yeah.
people that are happy about this site, these are people that are not, that kind of thing. And Amy, I think that would be awesome if we could do all of the stuff in a PDF, just because it's kind of cumbersome to pull it up. You know, that would be just great. Thank you so much.
I wonder if that's because, well, I don't know why some people can't open that, but I have a hard time with your agendas because it's on Publisher, so I've got,
Yeah, that's no problem. I can always send.
no, that's fine. I eventually get it. I just have like 4 clicks to get to it.
I'll make sure
We get it,
staff,
but it's a pain.
all committee packet information's in a PDF as
Yeah,
standard
because we don't
operating
have to-
procedure.
Okay.
We'll make sure that happens.
I don't mind Publisher, it's just I gotta, do you want to download? And
Yeah,
it's been
'cause
downloaded 100
I
times.
mean, with the current form of this agenda, I mean, we can get it, but it's an awful,
Okay.
yep.
All right, I'm going to close public comment at 9:50. Wow. Okay, now we're on item number 9, year-round park usage, possible discussion action. I'm throwing that to Reed.
Yep, this would be me.
Okay.
I mean, it was brought up the last few committee meetings about the year-round, having the park open. We just wanted to get the committee's blessing on this, that we're for sure gonna go through with this because it is going to change up our budgeting situation just for maybe some winter maintenance, plowing. You know, maybe are we gonna extend the seasonal employees' times a little bit later a little bit earlier in the spring, later in the fall, and also it'll just require some updating of signage that's out there at the park right now.
Sure, Reed, do you have a number of, what it would cost to extend that?
I do not off the top of my head. I don't see it being very significant. Depends on how much snowfall we get and how much use the park gets in the wintertime.
Right.
So you don't see, even though it's gonna be a little bit more cost, you don't see it like a absorbent amount of cost for year-round?
I don't, at least in the short term, unless all of a sudden, we have, a lot of activities and
Snow
programs
plowing
going
would be
on.
probably one of the
Bigger.
bigger ones, just to get people in there.
Yeah.
I mean, for this year's budget cycle, I can't imagine it's gonna, we might ask for a little bit more, just maybe get some ideas on plowing. I know Bob in the past has offered to do some plowing out there as well. But we certainly can't expect him to do it every time.
But that'll save us some money if he's willing to occasionally.
Have
Well, I
you-
think we should pay.
Yeah, have you had a lot of interest in that?
We have, and the committee has certainly shown interest, more so than the public. But, the public at this point doesn't think that the park is open.
They probably don't know, because there's no
Right.
advertising going on about
Right.
it. Okay.
So, and the signage, that's minimal as well. It'd probably be a couple $100 and
Right.
updating the signs and whatnot. So, and then obviously updating the social media and the webpage.
It's a good place to snowshoe and walk, but if there's 3 feet of snow in the driveway, you gotta you gotta forge your path with your snowshoes, and that's no fun.
And there has been people parking on the side of 93
Yeah, and that's not
occasionally.
good either.
And with the big banks there, it is dangerous, so.
Yeah.
Sometimes we can't always get a county and/or contract plow there right away, and I still worry about that, but that's what it is.
Buzz, you had a question?
Well, I was just wondering if we're gonna, it'd be nice to know some of your ideas for a winter program and any I mean, if you're gonna put it in there, people are gonna wanna use a trail. Are there gonna be any trail maintenance type thing to create like ski tracks or a designated cross-country ski trail or snowshoe trail? Or is it just let people go? I mean, if they wanna use it, we should be thinking about that at some point, that get those trails updated for winter usage, the signage on them too.
I think maybe it's going to take you a little bit, Reed, to kind of pull this together.
Right.
So maybe it would be a great idea because I think it's a good idea to go ahead and do that. But here's my idea, is that maybe you should just pull it together. What kind of programming would we have? What kind of advertising would we do to make sure that it's open and that kind of thing? And then have it ready for next year. I don't know that you can unless you think you can pull it all together like quickly in a month or so.
The way Dave is nodding his head, and it looks like he's volunteering to help, yes, I think we could.
Yeah, and if you could give us a little more information in the August meeting. I think this winter would be a trial run to
Sure.
see how many people use it.
We would incorporate budget numbers. We definitely want to include the year-round use in our 2024 budget.
Right.
So we will have some kind of different
Number,
financials
yeah.
for 2024.
Is it too late do you want us to vote on this to move forward?
Yes.
Okay. I would entertain a motion to have Reed move forward with developing park usage in the winter of 2023-24. Because winter starts in November here.
I will second that.
Gotta get a motion first.
We need a motion.
we got-
I wanted to entertain a motion. If someone would like to make a motion.
I will make a motion that we move forward with the item discussed with year-round, or at least start the development with the Reed.
Good motion. I like that development. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in
Sorry.
favor? Oh, I'm sorry. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, good. I think it'll be fun.
Sure.
When you did, a couple of years ago, you did the s'mores thing and coffee in the morning, and that was,
Yeah, we had decent showing for
Yeah.
how short of time we advertised.
yeah, and that was in the middle of February, so.
Right, it was.
Okay. I think it'll be fun. We don't have to have marked, marked trails would be good, but it is kind of fun to snowshoe the first trail yourself, rather than walk on one that's already done. No exercise there.
Right.
Okay, item number 10, recreation pond proposals, discussion, possible action.
Okay, this one's me as well, obviously. Would have been in the spring, early spring, we had the RFP put out there for consultants to design and, survey and more or less site plan the site for the recreational swim pond. During that time, we didn't receive, but I think we received one, actually, no, we didn't receive any during the open period, but since then, we've had 3 come in. I've been contacted by different consultants and whatnot, and lots of meetings, and a few came out there and visited and took pictures and whatnot, and so we have 3. The 3 that came and contacted me were Design Studio, etc., Roth Professional Solutions, and RSF Consulting Group out of the cities. I did include all 3 of these proposals in the packet. I don't know if the committee had a chance to really go through them or read them much.
I only saw the one, I guess.
There was only one. Well, I just pulled it up here. I see they were in there, but
Yeah, there's 3.
there should be 3 in there and a cost estimate, which was provided for us as well. And so after discussions with everybody, and obviously different people had different questions and whatnot, and I stayed consistent throughout the whole thing. The Roth Professional Solutions came in the lowest at $32,400 for their services.
How much?
$32,400. This would be just to design it. And it would include, let me pull it up here. I could share my screen if you'd like.
That'd be great.
Yeah, let's do that.
What were the costs on the other 2?
I have that here as well.
And were they different level of provision of services, if they were more?
Start video, share. What am I doing wrong here? Oh, here we go. Is this what's up here now? And then let me pull up these. So here's the Roth Professional Solutions.
Where are they from?
They are out of, let me think exactly where they were.
That's okay.
Portage.
They're in Wisconsin here, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
trying to
okay.
think.
Portage. I couldn't remember. Okay.
So I don't know how quickly you want me to go through or pull these up. I don't know
This is
if
the one you've chosen, correct?
this is the one I
That's
choose
the
for
lowest.
the lowest quote pricing. That does cover the needs that we have. It's not leaving anything out. I've gone through everything. It covers what we're looking for. Obviously, it's got communication coordination, 3 meetings here. It'll prepare 25-50% plans of civil infrastructure based on permitting directives, project layout, owner confirmations. Then you see these bullet points below that. And then they're going to deal with the permitting submittals, the stormwater management plans, the future park development area, and then they'll do a final construction plan as well. And this is basically something for the contractors, which they'll be in charge of the bidding as well, to go forward with as a plan for the construction.
I guess the Question I have, how much did you research their capabilities and capacities to provide a quality product?
Looking at, and from the few meetings I've had with them, and looking at their website and some of the projects they've done,
That's what I was asking.
it looks impressive. I mean, everybody puts a good face on. I personally don't have a ton of experience
Reed,
working with
have you
consultants.
checked with Wisconsin Lake and Pond at all?
All of these groups will be associated with them for the construction.
Wisconsin, so
Yes.
they'll be associated
Every
with
single one of
them.
them mentioned that.
Perfect,
Correct.
yeah, because they're definitely the expert.
They
when it
are.
comes
This
to
is what
that.
they do.
There's no doubt about that, yeah.
Sounds really good.
So this part just is preparing for?
This is designing the pond.
Wow.
And doing all the permitting and doing.
Permit, yep, bid documents, estimate prepared from final plan, so estimates, all that. And they did give us an estimate, which is what we geared that grant towards, which Dave, I don't think we have heard a result yet from the grant. So, this is the kind of thing that the committee could either, approve today, and then we have a plan going forward, whether we get the grant or not. Because we could always reapply for more grant funding.
Right.
But at least we'll have a set of plans designed if.
How big was the pond under this?
An acre.
An acre, okay.
And Reed, did you, the need for the consulting piece of it is to draw the plan?
Correct.
So you got a biddable set of plans and specs that says this is what the liner's gotta look like, this is what, and then we're gonna provide some potential footprint layout of what the other amenities, how
That's
they would
correct. They're
fit
gonna need a
in.
site plan,
Yeah,
taking into
and-
account,
and you've checked-
potential buildings and whatnot in association with our master plan. This is just a lot more specific. They're gonna be doing a survey in here, down to 1 foot contours as well.
Right. And you've checked with Wisconsin Lake and Pond that you need this first, correct?
I have not done that. But I know all these folks here, I have had meetings with Wisconsin Lake and Pond sometimes in the same meeting with these consultants.
Uh-huh.
So I guess I was under the assumption that they were working closely and got their numbers and what they needed from them. But I don't want to say I didn't confirm that, so.
It would make sense that we have, in order to move forward, we have to have a design.
Right.
And Wisconsin Lake and Pond sounds like that's the next step after the design.
Correct. They're the ones that will administer the actual construction of the
Right.
project.
Right.
We did not. So, yeah, we went directly to Wisconsin Lake
And they did
Pond.
not submit an
And
RFP, so.
So did Stony Creek.
So did by chance they maybe contract out then a firm to design it, or did they actually have design services themselves?
They have them themselves. I
They do.
believe. They may have worked with CRS, that's another
Wisconsin Lake
company.
and Pond is one of them.
Basically,
Correct.
in-house.
Correct.
And CRS, if I recall, they provide like the entertainment side of it.
They do that, but they also do the consulting piece too.
Okay,
So it's a different kind of,
sure.
Except we did not get a bid from them, so we have to look at what we have.
And I believe they chose not to
They
respond.
chose not to, correct.
Right. Well, I would entertain a motion for Reed to move forward with Roth Professional Services to design. We have to move on this. We're under a time period to develop the acreage that was bequeathed to us. So, is there a motion?
I will make a motion to move this forward.
Is there a second? I'll second the motion. I can second the motion.
I'm just not familiar enough with it. I didn't have enough time to dig through it.
is it absolutely critical that you get a motion here today, that you get this?
No, basically these, it'd be nice just to get things moving, but at the same time, they're more or less waiting for a yea or nay.
Yeah.
And so-
They're waiting for what?
A yes or no.
Yeah.
Yes, we're gonna start designing, we're gonna sign the contract of this proposal.
I
Or if
think
you guys wanna read-
32,000's a lot for the design.
If the committee wanted to wait and look through these proposals, or have me do more research, that's fine.
Yeah.
Well, you gave us the proposals to look through prior to this meeting, so.
Mhm.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Oppose?
Nay.
Nay.
Okay. So where do you would go, could somebody please clue me in on what you would like Reed to do next?
I think that probably the next thing, Reed, is I would just like to double check and make sure that this is necessary. Might be, but I just want to make sure that it is indeed necessary to have that specific of a drawing. and I know, like, I mean, the DNR permits and all that kind of thing, Wisconsin Lake and Pond, they take care of that anyway.
Sure.
So it might be just a, sort of a double dip there, you know?
Yeah.
So I would just double check and see, you know,
So
just
what
to,
permits do we need? Just a construction site erosion control permit?
you need a DNR.
Yeah, everything I've looked at
yeah,
has been a
has to go through
stormwater
them.
and erosion control
And
permit, because you're disrupting
And a
more
well,
than an
yeah.
acre of
And
ground.
is it a
That's what I thought, so we
high-capacity
don't-
well?
It is,
So if there's a high-capacity well, DNR has to approve that.
Is the high
absolutely.
cap well part of this?
Right.
No. Oh, it
Well,
is.
that won't be part of this particular
It'll be
cost,
part
too.
of.
That'll be bid out.
That'll be bid out
That's in
later.
that construction phase bid. I didn't, yeah, I just
Right.
didn't.
Yeah, that's another, yeah.
Okay, so Reed, could you make sure everybody gets a separate copy of these proposals and then follow up with
Wisconsin Lake and
Wisconsin
Pond.
Lakes and Ponds and see if they actually do designs or if they just, you know, can they do the whole thing? I mean, I don't know.
Well, exactly
I
what you
believe
need.
Reed has done that, and he spoke to them.
Okay.
And he's done that homework, and we have that answer. And
And what is the answer?
and the answer is they didn't want to submit a proposal, and so they're working, I don't know for sure if they're working with Roth for sure exactly, but we were not, right? You've had conversations with them, and they did not submit a proposal, and you spoke
It's
to
not,
them.
and I'm not saying, Mike, that they should do that piece. I'm just saying that you should ask the question, what design do you actually need?
Yeah.
Is the $32,000 necessary? Do you really need that piece? Maybe the answer
Well,
is
you have to
yes.
have
And
a
the answer is-
design or you
the
can't
answer-
build a pond.
Yeah, the answer is yes. You know, one of the things we do in the Department of Land Management, we don't do recreational swimming ponds, but we do agricultural
Sure.
practices. And we have engineering plans. If we're doing a stream bank project or something like that, we have to have
I think
plans.
3 more weeks is not going to kill us. It's not going to set us, you know, just get us some more information and
You
let us,
bet.
let us get a little time to digest it, make
Sure.
sure that we know what we're doing. It's
I think,
32 grand.
like I'm saying, I think what Jeannie's saying, you want to get it moving, but at the same time, I can understand wanting more information, because that's still over $30,000 of tax money, either directly or indirectly. That's tax money that we need to be very cautious of how we're spending it. I
It's money
agree.
that we have, so.
Still technically tax money, yes.
Right, but okay, read, I think the important thing is that everybody read these proposals.
Yep, they're all in your
Since apparently it
packets.
hasn't been, people haven't read them all. And then Lori would like you to follow up just to they didn't submit a proposal, so we can't ask them, why didn't you submit a proposal? They're gonna work with.
I can get on the phone with them, and I can call them again.
Okay, all right.
No problem.
You know, personally, I'm having a hard time when I go into that committee packet sorting
Exactly,
documents
yeah,
out.
yeah.
They're not real clean in there. And if, Amy, there's a way to bold those prints, or this is agenda item, whatever.
Yep.
I'm hunting and pecking down through a list of stuff, and some of it's real old, some of it's new. It's not clean how it comes out in that software.
Yeah, and Amy, if you could
I
even
think
see,
going
if you
forward
can
with
come
that-
and look and see even how it is to look
Yeah, I
at.
see
Oh,
it
it's
too.
It's really
I
difficult.
think going forward with the PDF.
Yeah.
Well, it's
I think
not just a
PDF
PDF,
would be
it's
better.
But it
the
is
rank
the-
order and when they're due. I mean, I was opening meeting minutes, clicking on them from 2022.
So one idea I have, and I
So
don't know
that's
if
part of
I've,
this, Reed. It's nothing against
No,
you or
not
the
at all.
process.
Or the process.
I just couldn't
or
get
what
at
it
this
is.
stuff
Yeah.
cleanly to look at it.
Yeah, no problem at all, yeah.
Okay.
So I'm sitting
motion
here
would make
mute.
no
It's a
sense.
great idea. We need a set of plans.
No, it was voted down.
Correct. So
Yeah.
let's,
Okay.
but you would like us to bring back more information in August?
Well, I think what Buzz is saying is he didn't get a chance to read these
I couldn't find it.
proposals.
well,
Easily.
Or he
yeah,
couldn't
it's
find
not
them.
easily.
Yeah, I guess it's
I mean,
easy
you guys
when,
are on county boards. You're digging through this stuff all the time. I pop it open a week before, and there's a bunch of stuff in there that doesn't
yeah, I'm
come
sorry.
out real
Yeah, I look
clean.
at committee minutes every day, so it's easy. And I think because we're county employees, it's easier to access that. Okay. Or not employees.
Got a comment.
Yes? sorry.
I really don't think we need to go with a lot of fancy bells and whistles on this. I mean, when you get an engineering firm and they're going ahead with $30,000, they're putting a lot of fancy bells and whistles. I says, we build a pond and we go from there afterward. We add to it.
We could always.
We don't need
all at once.
I
all this
understand
fancy
that,
stuff.
but we need to do it correctly. And we need to have a design. We can't just say, go build us a pond.
We could add bells and whistles later down the road.
I don't think there's gonna be a lot of bells and whistles. I think that we just need to build a pond, and it has to be done correctly, and we have to have all the right permits, and we have to have it designed and how it's gonna fit in that space. We can't just dig a hole and throw a liner and say that's a pond.
Gene, I think that's understood, but I think we should move on.
Okay.
We've made a decision.
Well, I don't know if we'll ever make a decision, but we'll try.
Inappropriate. Let's move on.
That's all right.
Oh, God, I lost my agenda. Can I look at your agenda again? No, I'm having problems seeing this. Okay, we're on 11. Is this for you again?
This is for me.
Electrical
I'm
sites?
asking to spend more money again.
Okay,
So
go
the next
for it.
3 are actually.
Okay.
Okay, this is for the removal, we're removing those pedestals down in the lots. We're
Right.
bringing them to Petrick Park.
Right.
The current company we're going with that was approved to remove them, they're gonna be bringing them up to the park, and they asked what they wanna do with them. And I said, well, it would be great if we could just put them in, right away. They've already done their homework on contacting Riverland and getting everything set up, and, I have a slide up here that you can kind of see the breakdown of what they're gonna be charging. It's gonna be around 11,000 for this, and I put a map on the next slide here. Let's see, I can zoom in a little bit, maybe not. But if you see these, sites here with the crosshashes through them, those would be the places that these pedestals will be installed, and it will add 9 new electrical sites to the park.
Is that where you have the pink flags out there?
That's correct, yep. So the lines, it's already been marked and located, and the company kind of expecting to receive the bid has already done some of the, contacted the state and some permit stuff ahead of time. So I'm really hoping that the committee goes ahead and approves this, because they're gonna be, it makes sense just to have them already on their vehicle, rather than having them just drop them off. They leave.
What are you looking for a time frame?
They'll be done before Ashley for the arts.
That's what I was looking for.
I'd entertain a motion to approve Reed to go forward with getting these 9 electrical sites into the park. Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Thank you very much. There will be some very happy people at Ashley for the Arts that don't think they're getting electricity, but they are now.
They will be happy. I'm so glad that
That's
this is finally
Great.
resolved, because
Awesome.
that's been an issue for
And,
a
oh,
long
by the
time.
way, just another side note, there were meters on each one of those, but they have removed the meters. Those meters actually belong to the village, so the village took them back, so all that electrical will just go to our 1 meter at the park, so
Awesome.
that's not an issue there, because they did say it was gonna be like $40 a month for each meter.
Sure.
And if we're gonna have 9 new meters there, that's.
Yeah.
We don't want that.
No, we
I'm
wouldn't.
so excited about that.
So,
That's
yeah,
great.
this would be a nice improvement. It will be.
And you have number 12, too.
Correct. Moving
ADA
on.
parking asphalt project.
So if you guys can see the screen here, I put this is a kind of a map that really roughly put together where there's an old driveway there right now. It's in need of repair. This would be where the new driveway will be put in. You can see the 3 quotes I have received. Obviously, the highway
I'd
department's.
make a motion to approve
Yes.
number 3.
And it'll make it really nice there.
Yes.
You can pull right up. It's gonna go right in, level with the sidewalk and the apron of the building, and it'll make it nice, real nice there. So
Time frame?
I don't have an answer to that right now.
Okay.
But this year, and I'm hoping before Ashley.
Oh,
I met with the highway commissioner out there, and I told him I'm hoping before Ashley, but we'll see. He said he couldn't for sure on it, but. So 5,800 is the lowest one from the highway
Is there a
department.
motion to,
in-house too, and cheapest.
are you making that motion?
Yes, I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yay.
Thank
Is
you
there
very
any
much.
other work out there, Reed, that needs to be done as far as, like, if the highway department is there? I know last year they did a very nice job of grading and, fill in some holes with, load of crushed rock and stuff like that. I
For a
mean,
loan to no money.
if we maintain that every year,
Right.
it ain't gonna be extravagant at the end.
Correct.
Right, right.
What we did last year is holding up incredibly well, even with, we have grass sites there, and when campers pull off, I was anticipating there'd be like crumbling along the edges. There's really not. They did a great job. And, we could expand the gravel drive heading out into the large open area out there. I haven't, brought that up to the department, but it's certainly something we could pursue.
But I mean, as long as they're there
Right, that's a good idea.
to, look at some of this stuff. But I mean, what they did with the parking lot, they did a phenomenal job of, bringing it back to grade and
They did.
eliminate the speed bumps.
Right, yeah. So I can certainly go through that with them when we're there, and I could have something
If
for you
there's
next
something that
meeting.
we need to, you can bring it to the next meeting.
Okay, that
All
sounds
right.
good. You
What's
bet.
Ashley? August what?
August 12th through 14th.
A week from
or something.
tomorrow, people start coming in. Or, I'm sorry, a month from tomorrow. My mistake. Week, yeah.
My buses are ready.
Yeah. Okay.
Number 13, 2024 Trempealeau County Visitors Guide. Dave Carlson, that's you.
Yeah, okay. So, I know we talked about this in the past, and it's actually in my work plan for this year. So, am still planning to go forward with getting a visitor's guide that would be ready to go plus or minus January 1st for the 24 season. And I know Lori brought this up, I think, after I left the June meeting to go do baseball.
I'd like to actually make a motion, Dave, that, that you bring us ideas on how we make this happen, whether it's outside salesperson and whether we make revenue on it or don't, but bring us back those.
Yeah, well, I guess if I could just finish, what I was, and we were kind of talking about this before the meeting, but for everybody else's benefit, there's really two major paths we could go down here. And I have no problem with bringing back those options, but I just want everybody to understand that there's, one path we could go down is we could just say, we want to do a visitor's guide, have it be totally non-sponsored, non-advertiser supported. Total cost would be on the county. I don't know what those numbers would be. It would depend on how many guides we wanted to do, how many pages, all of that stuff. Or the thing that I think makes more sense is to do like a lot of visitors guides are and have advertiser support or sponsorship support. But I think that's something I want to put out there right now, and, we don't necessarily have to have a motion today, although it wouldn't hurt if you feel comfortable with going down that path, because I don't want to go down that path and then have somebody torpedo it later saying, hey, wait a second, we shouldn't be in the business of advertising private businesses and stuff like that.
Well, the ADRC does a newsletter every month, and it's totally supported by advertising.
And I think that the way I would look at it, and if this makes it, a little bit better, is it would be sponsorships. Because like, for instance, we're a sponsor, or we're a partner, like with Visit Winona, Explore La Crosse, and as part of that, we get to put an ad in their visitors guides.
Right, and
So
you can
that's-
do both.
We're
neighboring-
Dave, you can do both.
We're
So,
neighboring
yeah.
communities.
Yeah, so that's the thing. So, if, like, for instance, if somebody wanted to make a motion that, I research and bring back a proposal, I don't know I can do it in 3 weeks. But like for at our September meeting, for an advertiser or a sponsor-supported visitors guide, I'd be happy to do that.
One of the things that I think is, like, September is your cutoff time, because, to get it printed and get the advertising going and all of that, there's absolutely, I've done a lot of directories, and I can tell you, there's no way that you're going to be able to get that out, and Jeannie can probably tell you the same thing.
I think Jean has a question. I saw her phone light up. Jean Galazinski, do you have a comment?
No, I was just listening to what Dave was saying, and the motion that Lori made. I just was waiting to ask her again to say what her is, so we could have a discussion, because you had a motion on the floor and we needed a second before discussion.
Right. What was your motion?
Would make the motion that Dave would bring us back ideas on how to set up a sponsored or guide for Trempealeau County.
And I'll second that, just to have a discussion here.
And when I say sponsored, basically what I mean is partnerships, but advertising. I
Right.
think you can make money off of these things. There's no reason to have the county pay for this particular product. None.
I agree, it's gonna, little or no cost to the county, but at the same time, I could see certain county board members at the main, big board talk about two sides of their mouth, but you have a good point there.
So check with
I don't think there's
Melissa
any-
Youngbauer, because it's a really wonderful newsletter that the ADRC puts out monthly.
Yeah, I've
and
seen
it's
it.
all sponsored, and we pay zero cost for having that put out.
I've seen it, but and that's fine, assuming the motion passes, which I assume it's going to. I will start putting something together. I don't know that I'm going to have it in 3 weeks. So, and again, I understand what you're doing, Lori, and I respect that what you're saying. I respect that, you've got some experience with this. If we don't have it ready to go January 1, it's not critical, February 1st. But, this is a first time for us, but I understand that
But it is kind of critical, Dave. I'll argue that because I think one of the things that we need to do is putting out a guide is one thing.
Yep.
Distributing it is a
Correct.
whole different thing. Now, you have a couple of great partners here in Stony Creek and Champions Riverside Resort,
Yep.
where we already go to many shows, and I'm
Yeah.
talking 17-plus shows that we go to.
Yep.
I personally distribute 30,000 guides. So in order to make some of those dates work for you, which I would assume you would want to do, this guide needs to be ready by January 1st.
Right.
So
Well, and we
to
can
get the
talk, and you
free-
can give me some dates and
Sure.
some assistance on that. I appreciate
Yep.
your
So
expertise.
there's
And there's
a-
also multi-groups that get together and print together. And obviously, when you print together, you save boatloads of money. For instance, my brochure is 12 pages long, and for 30,000 pieces, I pay $1,200. Well, you're going to pay $1,000 if you do 10,000. So by ganging everything together, it's much cheaper. So, but you have to meet deadlines too. So, and I can help you throw together some of those RFPs or whatever you
Yep.
want to do so that we can get it together for the next board meeting. It's important to make that January 1 date if you want the free distribution.
Unfortunately, that's not the only thing on Dave's plate, but if you can get some information to us by the August meeting. So we have a motion.
See what we can get.
Are there any further discussions, questions? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Dave.
Yep.
I'm throwing number 14 to Mike.
No, Reed.
That would be me.
Oh, update, okay. I was looking at, God, I need my glasses. All right, sorry. Conservation, park and conservation update.
Okay, sharing my screen again, I have a short list here of some other things that have been going on at the park. We do have a camera installed now out there. It's running live. The sheriff's department will have access to that, IT as well as we do. So that, I know that's been kind of in the works for a while, but it's up and running now. Number 2 there, we have a new hot water heater installed.
Oh, wow,
There's a picture of
beautiful.
it. I know you guys have all seen a hot water heater. But if you had seen the pictures of the other one, which maybe I should have included, it was burn marks probably about a quarter of the way up that thing. And it was, if I remember right, somebody walked out last time and called Corp Council during our last meeting saying, can we just get on this right away?
Yeah.
So we did, and it was done last week. And
Because that was considered kind of an emergency there.
Yeah.
It was dangerous.
danger, and it wasn't providing the public with the,
Safety.
heated showers that they kind of expect when they're
And
staying at the
safety.
park. So
Nice work, Reed. You did that really quickly.
yeah, so that one, it's 100 gallons. And I was kind of surprised to hear from the plumbers, they couldn't believe it. It heated all that water up in 10 minutes. That was kind of surprising to me.
These newer heaters are so efficient, it's not even funny.
Well, that's great, because if, like I said, the park doesn't have, weekend after weekend after weekend use, but when the 3 or 4 busy weekends we do have, the shower's being used, and hopefully it can keep up. So I've never heard a complaint in the past to the other one, and this one's the same size, so
Awesome.
obviously another angle of it there. Also, we have some new signs that were installed out at the park. Doreen worked closely with me on these, designing and putting them You guys have seen some out there that are similar to this, but now they are located along the trail system at every intersection except the one that's going north into the Elk Rod and Gun Land. Then we've got a couple out here at the Prairie. So if anybody, is interested in taking a look at those, they look real nice. They're gonna last a long time, and that was a nice donation
They're
from
beautiful.
Doreen,
They're
and
like national park signs.
They're
really
they are nice. It's Wild Exhibit out of Rushford, Minnesota. They do all the refuge signs around here and a lot of state park stuff too.
They're
He
beautiful.
does great work over there. So another nice amenity at the park that's just kind of enhancing it and making it look real nice out there.
And the prairie looks nice.
It does. It should be coming into its prime here in the next
If
couple
we
of
get a
weeks
little more
here.
rain.
Yeah, a couple more weeks. It should be good. Obviously, Ashley's coming up. Thank goodness it's still a month, not a week, like I said.
Thank you.
So that's going to be, just getting ready for that. Hopefully, some of these projects that you have just approved will be completed by then, which would be really nice. People always comment on the park and the improvements and how nice it is out there. And obviously, it's a great setup, similar to other campgrounds in the area with the shuttle and whatnot coming to and from. So I'm going to be contacting quite a few people because obviously we had some minor hiccups with the online reservation system on New Year's. So I'm just going to be kind of double checking with everybody. I shouldn't say everybody, but the ones that I've got my notes with. Just making sure, because I don't want surprises at the door when they show up.
There was only one email I got complaining and.
Right. And there again, the people that didn't get their sites were the ones that were complaining, and the
Right.
people that got their sites are happy. So
You just got to be on the ball when you're registering.
That's right. And then currently we have a snowmobile bridge bid out right now. You've maybe seen it in the Times, maybe not. This is the second week. So those bids are actually due tomorrow. So we were approved for it. It was up off of Whit Hill Road, the trail just north of Whitehall here, and I guess hopefully we get some bids on that and we can get that installed this fall before the season. So
And pray for snow.
yeah. So other than that, anybody have any other questions about kind of the park or? Yes, Bob?
What happened to the pop machine?
They came and took it because it wasn't profitable. So they called me up and, yeah, I actually should ask the committee about that. Do we want to pursue and get it out there again?
I guess, it was a Coke machine. Coke is a good product, but I think, the number one pop with kids around here is Mountain Dew.
Right.
I mean, it ain't Pepsi, it ain't anything else, it's Mountain Dew.
Cokes, yep.
And I actually think we need a pop machine out there.
Okay, I can
Does
try to
it
get it
get
again.
used? Is that was the problem? It was
They
under.
called and said, we're going to remove the machine because it's just not profitable for us. We've got a better location for it.
So you have to provide our own pop machine out there? Is what you're saying?
No, you'd have to do another.
We still have to
like
go through a
Pepsi.
vendor.
You have to go through something.
And we had Pepsi out there, but
Okay.
we used
I
to have
don't know who
Coke prior
makes
to
it.
that.
Coke makes Mountain Dew, don't they?
No, it's Pepsi
Oh,
product.
Pepsi. I've never tasted Mountain Dew.
And the other thing, did you ever show any thought into maybe in the park shelter having folding tables out there versus those heavy picnic tables?
That's what we're gonna do, actually. I tried to order them this past week from one company that they were all out of them, but yes, I was hoping to get them in prior to Ashley, so we could move those tables out to other campsites for people, but I think that's, a route we should definitely go, because then you can move them to the side, it's more conducive, you can take, we've all sat in a presentation where, you're sitting at picnic tables, and it's better just to have all the chairs facing one direction, and then there's a lot more mobility in there as well, so.
In the tables, at least you can fold up and
Fold
put
them up.
against the wall if somebody,
Yes.
if somebody's gonna have a dance.
For sure.
You can.
You can move the
utilize it.
tables easily and you can make multi-purpose, basically.
So that's something you're already working.
That's
on.
something I'm working
Okay.
on, and, when you break everything down, it's below our purchase policy,
Right.
so I'm not asking for any
Yeah,
type
fine.
of
Go
that
ahead,
kind of
do
thing,
it.
so, yep, I'm in the works.
I
of doing
trust
that
you to
too.
do what's good for our park.
Sure, you bet.
And in the third item, is it possible to apply for this year's conservation aids money to put a canoe landing in at the park?
It is, yeah, I reached out, I sent an email to Daryl asking about, and I haven't received anything back yet. He's with Elk Rod and Gun,
Yeah.
correct? So I haven't received anything back, but.
Because I
Do you want me
know
to work with you on that, Bob, or?
we had talked about that earlier, And I know there's a set of plans that's worked out great for the two that the club has put in.
Sure.
In the Land Conservation Department at Kenny Myers that drew up years ago.
Okay.
And what we had used was cattle slates made out of concrete. That way the sand goes right through, you put them down. And I mean, I kind of looked at a spot even down in the park where to put that thing, where it's right out in the open, but just by talking to different people. But I mean, that conservation aids money would cover most of it.
It would for sure.
But I guess I can meet with the Rod and Gun Club in Independence and see what we can do and move forward and get a canoe landing in
Let's
out
do
there.
it. You bet, let's do that.
Because then we would have 3 of them in a row, because we've got 2 in Independence, 1 at Crossroads, and the 3rd one would be at Petrick Park.
That would be great.
And that's a huge thing that we need to advertise, because there really isn't a lot of opportunities for people to canoe in the area.
Right.
With good landing, so that could be a huge thing.
Does the one down in North Bend get used as much as it used to?
So she is really trying to kind of get that business going. There's a lot of interest for it, but it's very difficult. You know, her building burned down, and there's been a lot of issues. You know, for us, it's very labor intensive, so it's not really part of the business that we choose to pursue as much as we should. But there is definitely an interest for it. I mean, there's groups that want to do it, so.
Canoe concession in Whitehall too?
Not anymore.
Oh. It'd be nice to get a couple.
You bet.
But one of the things that's unique around this area, you don't have to travel very far, because I mean, from Independence to Crossroads, as the crow flies, it's only 5 miles. From Crossroads to Petrick Park, it's only 2 miles, you know, and that's usually the stepping stones that people take.
People really like,
and they
yeah.
can transport, you know, okay, one kid goes with the car and he leaves the pickup at one spot or the next spot, and they don't have a lot of time in travel time.
Okay, so you're gonna follow up with, this wasn't on the agenda, but you're working on it anyway as part of your job?
I'll work with you,
Okay.
Bob, in the club, for sure. You bet.
Any other questions for Reed? Okay, now I'm gonna throw this to Mike. DLM staffing organization changes, discussion only. Thank you.
Make sure the file's on there that you can possibly see.
That's really nice, Mike, to have paper copies like this.
Good to have the hybrid
It's good,
copies, I
just in
agree.
case.
We're trying to
Just in
save
case.
trees.
Well, it's good to save trees, but we also need information.
Yep.
There's more detail that has to be done on this, so I'll make the formal request on this at the August meeting. But recently, we recruited for our conservation, our county conservation's position, and that was unsuccessful. So I had to take a new look at it, how to address that position. And we really did have the ability to staff that position internally if we kind of realigned some of the responsibilities a little bit. So essentially here, what you see here is kind of the end product of what we're shooting for here. Essentially, we would have two county conservation specialist positions, and we would staff those all with current staff in the department, and that would also, as you can see on the chart, would have Reed moving from his current position to a 100% conservation position. If you remember at the previous meeting here, the committee approved and personal bargaining approved an activity and outreach coordinator position. Of course, that would cost more money, be more money on the budget. The part 2 of this realignment is to take Reed's current position, it's about 25% conservation, move that out of that position and add in those programming responsibilities that we talked about with the activity coordinator, and rename that position Parks and Recreation Coordinator. So essentially, we'd be able to achieve those programming objectives that we were trying to do. We'd still have somebody doing snowmobile, and we'd have somebody managing the park. and then that position would be directly supervised by Dave Carlson. So with these changes, we would not have to add any new positions. We might have to bump Dave's salary up a little bit because he'd have a supervisory responsibility, but this is a low-cost way to address our needs, and that way we wouldn't have to request a new position and ask for new money.
And this park coordinator would be full-time?
Yes, 100%.
Instead of three
Salary level.
It would be the same as what Reed is at, same grade work that Reed is at right now.
Are you gonna be able to find somebody, if we couldn't find a county conservationist with a big file, are you gonna be able to find well, I mean,
Well,
the concern I have, I'll be
Turn your
point
mic on,
blank.
please.
The concern I have is, we're entering a phase on that park that's gonna take some skills to pull it off. And are we gonna be able to find that person with the salary that's being offered?
Labor is challenging in both the public and private sector right now. I think one of the keys to part of this, that helps in this respect, is this position is supervised directly by Dave. So I think that adds value and adds synergy and helps create better productivity, having that structure. I think that's huge. But no matter what org chart you have, labor is going to be challenging.
And I think this position is different from the conservation specialist. I mean, this is like, if I was like, I mean, I think it's going to be a really fun, challenging position. And
Well, it is.
full-time at the
Build a new
park,
park is what we're kinda doing.
and coordinating events there. And if that's all they focus on, it's very different, and then Reed's not being pulled in many different
Well, I
directions.
get it.
And my understanding is that your interest is in conservation, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
We're not pulling him away from something he loves the park, and you won't leave the park, but I mean, your soul is in conservation.
And I spoke with every staff member on this before I
Oh, I'm sure you
brought
did,
this
Mike.
forward.
I'm not
and-
questioning that, I'm just
And every staff member is.
questioning going
yeah.
into this, we got the park master plan. Congrats, Reed, for pulling that together. Now we're starting to implement that, and
It's huge.
it's a huge endeavor. You're building pretty much a day-use park into a very active park setting over the next decade or so.
It's needed, but it's that's a lot of work.
You know, one of the things that we really should do and stick on our calendars at some point is, you guys should come over, see Champions, let's go over to Stony Creek. Both of us have day use types of facilities, and it just would be a great experience to see, oh my gosh, we don't want this, or goodness, we should do this differently. And I think it would just be a good idea to talk to people who have done it.
And I think we've done, well, I've been to both places, but I'm not worried about filling this position because I think it's going to be a really exciting position for somebody who has a background in,
And, you know, some other backgrounds too. UW La Crosse has a parks management, Parks and Rec management major over there, so there's probably people with that background in the area. There might even be some past candidates that interview for some of our positions that might be a good fit. With the way the labor is, I'm not going to be overly, I'm not going to be, say it's a guarantee, but I feel more positive about this position than I do others. So basically, essentially, what we'll need from PTED at the August meeting is adoption. I'll be filling out kind of what's called a project initiation form. That's internally what's being asked for. Currently, Reed's position is located in the land management budget. So one of the approvals here will be from ELU to approve transferring that salary and fringe from the land management budget to the parks budget. So that's one of the fiscal items that will go on there. I'll be revising some job descriptions. But that's probably one of the big things we will need the ELU committee to approve, and of course, want your blessing as well on that, to move that position to the parks budget.
So, go ahead.
This is Jean.
Go ahead, Jean.
My concern is, and it'd be great if we could fill full-time. If we don't, or we get applicants and they don't meet the criteria, I don't want to see us just to pick somebody for full-time, because I totally agree with Lori and Buzz. You guys have worked so hard on all the stuff for the park, and it's fabulous. I would hate to see that go backwards. You know, we have a lot of responsibility, not only to the public, but for Doreen and her family and the other people that like to come and the community. How's Dave going to handle this? Let's say if you don't find somebody. Dave has made comments that he's, busy and he's doing all his economic development tourism things. Is he going to be able to take on this responsibility if we get someone?
Gene,
because that's going to be a lot on his plate.
Gene, this is Dave. This works if we are able to hire somebody, and I have confidence.
Me too.
In talking with Mike and in kind of fleshing out what some of the roles and responsibilities would be, that we'll be able to find somebody for this. I think I've been in the year plus I've been here, I've actually worked more and more all the time with Reed in talking about some stuff and promoting Patriot Park and getting into some of the strategic planning and stuff. And I feel pretty comfortable with being able to take on, that leadership role in terms of those kind of things and moving the park forward and so on. The day-to-day stuff is the stuff we need to hire somebody for. And, I think this is a great opportunity, as you talked about last month with this activity and outreach coordinator, is how do we get more utilization of the park, better programming, et cetera. And so, Mike did talk to me about this, and yeah, I have a lot going on, but frankly, managing tourism and the park is a tourism asset, and like we talked about earlier, if we get in more involved with, Farm Progress Days Park and actually manage that as a tourism asset, it all fits, and it's directly related to my job. So I'm excited about the potential for
Me
it.
too.
I think it's an opportunity to maybe bring somebody in that's got a certain skill set and help them develop a broader skill set that may be, even a better asset down the road.
I'm pretty confident with the people that we have in place that you guys will do a great job finding somebody. If we can't find them at that salary, you just gotta come back and let us know.
Well, and we can always bring the issue to personnel bargaining and look at what we need to do to pay someone to be here. And I'm very optimistic. I don't want to be gloom and doom that we're never going to find anybody, because I think this is like a really exciting opportunity, and we're doing it at the right time. Just somebody to start in the fall who may be finishing school or is in I just feel really good about this. I am not going to be gloom and doom.
Well, let's put the ball back.
I apologize if you felt that that's how I felt. That was not it at all. I just want to make sure that it's not putting too much on Dave's plate, because I hope we can find somebody. I think that'd be absolutely fabulous.
Yeah, and everybody will be happy.
But we also
then.
have to think.
Yeah, that is a good point, Jeannie, and absolutely, we have to look at what if we
Right.
don't. But I think we'll give it a whirl and see what's out there, and
Yeah.
I think the market's changing just slightly. So, check it out, see what's
We're
out there.
we're down a position in the department, and regardless of the reality too on this, if we don't do the PTED side of this, there seems to be a lot of support on the ELU side, conservation side. So, and with Reed's interest in doing 100% conservation, if we don't have approval on the PTED side, Reed still goes to be a conservation specialist, and then we just kind of replace it without the programming aspect. But why not revise it? I mean, this is the time to realign
Go
it
for it.
and make it more focused and more effective. But the formal, I have to follow county procedure on this, and I'll be bringing that forward at the August meeting, and we'll probably have this on before we deal with the 2024 budget.
And then and then it'll come, if we meet on August 1st, and then personnel bargaining you'll be able to get it on their
Yes.
agenda. So it'll be approved by August, the end of August.
I appreciate, Mike, the heads up, the timeline, and the org chart. I think that's really helpful.
Yeah, and we haven't, it's been a while since we've had an org chart for the department. I think the ones that I've found go way, way back. So I think this really helps understand in it. Now we have essentially 3 divisions, and what this does is, instead of having conservation mixed with parks, it kind of separates that and helps keep it more focused, and I think it's a real clean way to go about it.
It's very nice.
I guess I'd have to agree with Gene on this, so we're not cutting Dave, short. You've got a lot of irons in the fire there, just taking care of economic development and tourism. What if we had Mike fill in as the parks thing? I mean, you're in the office all the time anyway, Mike.
Do you mean fill in temporarily, or
Well, I
fill
mean,
in
if
100% of the time?
If we don't get anybody, I mean, you would be able to, fulfill that job app. I mean, you're there. I
You mean
mean,
Mike would become the parks coordinator?
Yes.
I don't know that that's the best.
I think we should cross that bridge when we
Yeah.
come to it.
We just need you to move forward and get this
Yeah.
done so it goes to personnel.
Yeah, I'll have the formal request at the August meeting.
Yeah. I don't see Mike being the parks coordinator and managing environment and land use.
Well, we'll be able to figure it out.
Yeah. I'm not worried. I think it's a great opportunity for someone. Any more discussion on this, since it's discussion only? Economic Development Tourism Manager Report. Dave Carlson.
Well, I'm just back from a week of vacation, which was fabulous.
I see your boot is off, yay.
Yeah, that's progress too. My wife and I went out to Colorado for a wedding, and had a few days to be able to kind of take in this scenery, and it kind of felt like I was working at times because I was asking questions and grabbing information about different things. Huh?
Oh, I was just wondering if your mic was.
It is. So yeah, I mean, it was nice to get away from the office for a little bit. It's been a busy month. We did get county board approval to accept the grant on the broadband internet planning, so that's moving forward. We're going to be working, and I did mention to them that we were going to be working with Buffalo, Pepin, and Pierce County, and nobody seemed to have an issue with that. In fact, I think there was support for working collaboratively like that, so we'll be moving forward with that. I think I sent to the PTED Committee the press release I put out on the 2022 visitor spending numbers that the State Department of Tourism released. Just to recap, Trempealeau County in 2022 had $67 million in visitor spending that supported 400 jobs and helped generate $3.4 million in state and local tax collections. That was a 14.9% increase in direct visitor spending, and I'm just going to pull up something real quick here and see if I can show it on the Zoom meeting. Share screen. Exit minimize video. There we go. Share screen. There we go. Oops. So a little hard to see the chart here, but the first column shows total economic impact of tourism spending in various counties as well as the state, and you could see that obviously Eau Claire and La Crosse County, being the two big counties, they're way up there in like the 489, 433 million category. We're at 67 million, which if you look at our peer smaller counties like Buffalo, Jackson, Pepin, we're clearly doing pretty well. And we had a 12.2% increase in total economic impact of tourism, and that's, right in line with what the big counties did as well as the state overall. If you look at this direct visitor spending column here, which is the first one up top of the screen in, the dark blue, that's the direct visitor spending. That's on like food, lodging, all of that kind of stuff. It's not counting like, trips to the grocery store or the hardware store. It's stuff that actually can be traced directly back to those activities. We went up by, 200,000, no, it's 5.2 million, I'm sorry, from 21 to 22, a 14.9% increase. And that far outpaced Buffalo County, 7.8, Jackson, 5.9. Monroe actually, not quite sure why, fell by 1.6% in direct visitor spending. I suppose with Monroe.
Trempealeau County instead.
Left
Sure.
behind.
Well, with Monroe, that's Fort McCoy, and I have a feeling it was probably related to less activity at the fort.
Right.
But
Comes and goes, yeah.
anyways, Pepin County, 7.2%. So it's some really good information. I wanted to share that with the committee. I took,
Agenda for the county board next.
yep. Oh, no, I thought we were doing August. We'll have to check on that.
No, I think I put you on for July.
Great, okay.
Oh, by the way.
That's okay, that's okay. So
The
we
sooner
are
the
going to be
county
sharing with the
hears it,
county
the
board
better.
either next week or next month, some more information on this.
Let me look. Okay, go ahead.
I was thinking August, but you may have asked for July, and we'll make that work, Jeannie.
Okay.
It said agenda pending on the website, but.
Yeah, we'll make that work. And that's really all I've got. Buzz mentioned that Rural Partners Network, and that's something that I've sort of tried to get plugged into. It's not always clear where the opportunities lie, but I think, the more partnerships we can have, the better, because things emerge and opportunities emerge. Huh?
Dave, have you commented on the overlook at all in previous meetings? I don't remember if you did.
I think I mentioned it last month, but we did have a meeting with DOT, and maybe it was early June, so maybe we didn't. We had a meeting with DOT up at the Arcadia Overlook on Highway 93. Town of Arcadia was also there. And just to try to see what could be done about making that overlook more attractive. There's a lot of trees that have overgrown that have taken.
Pull off for semis now.
Well, there's a pull-off for the semi-breaks, but then there's also what's actually supposed to be the scenic overlook.
On each side, right?
Except you can't see anything because of the trees.
We need
So
to make it more nice or
DOT
whatever you
is
call it.
looking at the scenic easement that is there, because the scenic easement, they feel, extends beyond just their property into the, property that would be below that.
I mean, they go forever.
Yeah, right. So what I asked was, well, it's a scenic easement, which is supposed to preserve the scenic beauty, which right now is being blocked by trees. And so can they either, will that scenic easement allow or even require those trees to be removed? Because that would be the ideal, would be to remove those trees so that you can actually stand at that overlook and see what was intended to be seen.
Exactly.
With the highway department, tree whackery that you do it.
They could do it, but are they gonna be allowed to do it? Is what I'm-
Right,
we're
so-
saying.
I mean,
so-
that looks like a butcher job. You
So
want
we're-
it done aesthetically.
Yeah, we're
is
looking,
my
we're
point.
working with DOT on that. The other wrinkle that came up with that actually presents an opportunity as well, is that they explained to me that they have been for a while now in the, trying to divest themselves of certain properties.
County would get it, we get
And
it.
that's the kind, that potentially they might be looking to offload. And, so my thought was, well, that would be an interesting thing, if they wanted to give that to us, like after they paved the road nicely.
Yeah.
And everything, put down some fresh
Yeah.
blacktop,
And
and
then
then gave
so
it to
you
us
have
to
to pay for it.
potentially develop as, just a small pocket park, overlook park or whatever,
And it's underneath local control.
where we could put some, interpretive signing up on stuff like that. That would be, a great opportunity.
How's the one on Buena Vista south of Ossie?
So that's I think it's the Lions Club up there. It's privately owned.
The Lions does the one at Oliva too, right by the turnoff to go to the.
Yeah, that's private too, technically, that's private.
Yeah, I've looked at Buena Vista, that's beautiful. And the one on the Arcadia Hill has a chance to really be a premier tourist attraction.
And if the state was willing to turn over and it wouldn't cost us too much, it would be an easement that would have more control over, more say. It'd be a local instead of state, which I think everybody could agree with is a good thing. The more local control, the better.
So that's a project that, it's not going to probably develop overnight, but
Right.
we're tracking on it.
Yeah. Okay, anything else? Oh, yeah.
If you go to county board, I keep beating this dead horse every time, but when you run the numbers on 67,000, that's $335,000 at the 0.5% sales tax.
Yeah, Mike and I have looked a little bit at some of that stuff, and that was something I was actually going to try and fully develop a little bit more. So if I'm on for next.
No, I actually did it correctly. I asked for you to be on in August. I knew that
Thank you.
I didn't want you to be
More time,
on.
you're not pressured.
I knew I didn't want you on July because we are going to have a very busy meeting.
Thank you, I
And more
appreciate
time
that.
for you, too.
Because I did want to flesh that out and just, kind of
Yeah.
drill down
So it's August.
into the local, that 0.5% sales tax and try and parse out how much of that is attributable, because we can parse those numbers out from what we've got
That
here.
far exceeds our parks budget alone, right? And your
I want
salary?
to say just on the direct visitor spending that Mike and I came up, and don't quote me on this, but it might have been $200-some thousand that is generated in local sales tax just on direct visitor spending.
It pays your salary and the SNOOP positions and.
Right. I mean, that's one way of,
operating
that's
budget.
definitely one way of looking at it. That's not wrong either,
Right, so,
So,
Right.
but you gotta make
a
sure you
0.5%.
promote that self-funded thing to the big board as much as we can.
Yeah, and
Make
so
it big.
this is an opportunity to just kind of illustrate that. I'm not planning to go in August and ask for them for some commitment, but, I think just to plant a seed for the future even if you looked at what is the increase year over year in that sales tax collection that's tied to whatever, now that's money that you could maybe start, adding incrementally every year to our marketing budget, so we can do more. Because the more promotion we can do, and the more visitor dollars we can generate, the more money we have to keep doing it. And repeat, and repeat, and repeat.
and remind them, that I think board members may have forgotten, or there are some new ones, that during the pandemic, our county was #1 at the
Right.
least amount of
Right.
sales tax lost.
Right, and that's because uniquely in Wisconsin, and you all know this, I'm sure, but uniquely in Wisconsin, because people have asked me, well, how did Trempealeau County manage to not hardly go down at
Yeah, it was
all in
like
visitor
1
spending?
point something
And it's
percent.
because of the things that we have
Mm-hmm.
that are the attractions. It's not, it's
Outdoor
not.
things help, too.
It's outdoor recreation, like 90%. And that's what we got to lean into our strengths.
Right.
And so, parks, camping,
Biking,
developing a water trail system, all of that stuff is where our future lies.
right. Okay, wonderful.
I'll get
Now-
off the soapbox.
No, I love it. And now, number 10, or number 11, or whatever the number is, which
So
I.
Petrick Park access, this discussion of park access, and this is what Jeannie alluded to earlier, that there have been some, questions, or however you want to call it,
Concerns.
floating around, or, rumors that, we may, that the access we've got over there across the railroad track is something that could be taken away. Let me get to my screen here. I want to share hang on a second, I want to share the right screen here. Screen sharing is step, there we go. Share screen. I think this is the one. Nope, that's not it. There we go.
When we're quiet, that clock is really loud.
Yeah.
Get the answer.
Yeah. Let me share this one here, because I can get there from here. That is lagging. So that is our railroad crossing. That's not what I was trying to show you.
It looks like that, though.
It does look like that. Here we go. Is this it, maybe? Well, I am trying to share this screen. It's not coming up. All right, so long story short, that's our railroad crossing. And, there was some concern that, the railroad could at any time say you can't have that crossing, and then, the county would be up a creek, yeah.
Without a paddle.
And, yeah. And so I did some research on that, and the first thing I found out, just by doing a search of the U.S. Department of Transportation database on railroad crossings, is that is indeed a public crossing. It says so right here in the U.S. DOT crossing inventory form. But not satisfied with that as a final answer, I did do some digging, and I reached out to the Office of the Commissioner of Railroads in Madison. And in fact, the Trempealeau County Board, I'm sorry, you lived in Dane County too long. Trempealeau County Board actually filed a petition with the Office of the Commissioner of Railroads on April 24th, 1972, shortly after the park land was donated, for authority to establish a public grade crossing over the tracks. And there was a hearing, June 12th, 1972, in Whitehall, before Commission Examiner John Coop. And bottom line is that the Wisconsin Office of Commissioner of Railroads created a public crossing of the railroad track and memorialized that in an agreement that I have on my computer. I was going to try to show you. And so there is, if ever a railroad wanted to close a public crossing, there's a whole process that they go through, and they have to, really prove there's a need for it. And with a train every other day or whatever, you would just never make the case. That crossing is as good as gold.
Okay, good.
We're solid.
I let the people who expressed concern about that know, and hopefully they are satisfied.
Yeah, the railroad would have to initiate it. They would have to go back, essentially have a hearing, and I can tell you from experience, public crossings are not generally closed. I mean, it's almost impossible. And in this case, there's no need for it.
Right.
Not with the amount of railroad traffic that's there.
But I hear horror stories about the railroad being real.
Well, and if it's a private crossing, if it was a private crossing like some of the farm crossings there are out there, that's a very real concern.
They can be a real.
Those could be, they could say, nope, sorry,
They
you
don't
can't
care.
cross that anymore.
Yeah, so
But this
we're
is a
good.
public crossing.
Yep.
That's good to know, because I know railroads could be JAs.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
good.
Okay.
All right, any other questions about that? Thank you, Dave, for doing all the digging. And future agenda items, anything people would like to see on the agenda? We kind of talked about what needs to be on next month.
2024 budget will be on there.
Okay, all right. Oh, gosh.
got a full plate with those issues.
Yes.
And, as it is.
Right.
Well, and then I loved this meeting today because we really dug deep into things that we needed to look at, even though it was long. That's what we're here for. It's our job. All right, I will adjourn the meeting at 11:02.
Set the date for the next one.
August 1st, as we were told, correct? August 1st?